Chapter 1468. The violet light in Zi Daolong's eyes grew even more intense. He felt that there wouldn't be any problems if a peak-stage immortal king acted to kill Qin Wenyin. However, he didn't expect that Qin Wenyin pretended to retreat because he wanted to hunt down that peak-stage immortal king. Not long after the battle started, that peak-stage immortal king died in Qin Wentian's hands. In fact, they didn't even manage to see clearly how Qin Wenyin did it. A peak-stage immortal king, even for a transcendent power, would definitely be considered a cornerstone. If one of them was killed, it would be a huge loss. This was especially so when his father, Zidi, didn't establish an immortal empire like the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom or the Evergreen Kingdom. He only accepted some disciples from the Violet Mountain to guide and nurture them. A peak-stage immortal king died. Zi Daolong couldn't help but feel pain in his heart. At this moment, battles erupted everywhere. Those immortal kings who were rushing towards Jun Mengchen, Tuoba Saint Sky and the other experts from the Heavenly Talisman realm unleashed their tyrannical attacks. In an instant, the experts from the Heavenly Talisman realm unleashed their own law domains with Tuoba Saint Sky as the center. In an instant, Tuoba Saint Sky assimilated the law energies of the experts from the Heavenly Talisman realm, fusing them into his own. This was a unique ability of his. Back then during the war between the Dongshengshan Gate and the immortal Qianbian Gate, Tuoba Saint Sky also relied on this ability to dominate the battlefield. Staring at the incoming immortal kings, Tuoba Saint Sky directly punched out towards the immortal king at the front. His assimilated law energies stacked together, and with this punch, the heavens and earth howled in rage as the wind and clouds changed color. The law energy in the surroundings churned violently as all the energy blasted into that punch, directly shattering the law domain of that immortal king, penetrating through everything and continuing on towards the body of that immortal king. That immortal king at the forefront felt the might of this punch as his countenance drastically changed. It felt like this entire world was about to be engulfed by this punch. He roared in rage and unleashed a powerful defense. However, when the punch landed, it destroyed everything with ease. With a thunderous boom, law energy swept through this space, causing the entire space to collapse. That immortal king was directly killed by a single punch. The immortal kings at the back halted. A peak-stage immortal king spoke. This man has a unique astral soul that can assimilate law energy. His attacks are stacked together and he can even borrow the law energy of others. We mustn't clash head-on. All the experts halted their steps, not daring to be impulsive. They could faintly sense this ability of Tuoba Saint Sky. With this unique ability, as long as there were some experts beside him, he would be able to boost his strength. And for Tuoba Saint Sky, who was already at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, once he gained the boost of strength, his strength wouldn't be as simple as just adding the number of experts. Just think about it, in a situation where his attacks were all boosted, who would be able to withstand his attacks? That Immortal King who died earlier was a very good example. Zi Daolong waved his hand. Even more immortal kings were preparing to reinforce Tuoba Saint Sky. Who would have thought that these people would suddenly appear out of nowhere? This time around he, Zi Daolong, initially wanted to deal with the devil maidens of the myriad devil islands. As for the other two battlefields, the immortal kings of the Judiciary Devil Hall were all proficient in the art of adjudication. In addition, when they joined forces, they were able to coordinate with each other. The devil cultivators of the myriad ancient devil hall led by Bujie were similarly terrifying. Although they were fighting individually, each of them could borrow the will of the ancient devils and even summon the devil cultivators from the myriad ancient devil hall. In an extremely short period of time when the battle erupted, the entire space was in chaos. The sky lost its color as the radiance of the stars enveloped the vast region. The battlefield was instantly pulled to a great extent, and the people in the distance all retreated to a faraway place. This caused many experts who were far away to rush over, knowing that a great battle had erupted here. There were so many immortal kings participating in this battle. Even in the current city of ancient emperors, it was extremely rare. After Qin Wenyin killed that peak-stage immortal king, he returned to the battlefield. His sharp eyes swept through the battlefield. One of his hands was wielding a sword and a saber, Law energy flowed around him as Emperor's fate shone resplendently behind him. His entire person exuded the might of a king. The brothers of the 9 Emperors' immortal state have once allied with us. This time around, we are able to fight side by side again and help me kill these people. Zi Daolong will definitely remember this favor. Zi Daolong spoke to the immortal kings of the 9 Emperors' immortal state who didn't participate in the battle. Although there weren't many experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state here, there were still 5 of them, and one of them was a peak stage immortal king. If they joined in, they would definitely have a great influence on the overall situation, allowing their side to have more initiative. Our opponents are all supreme powers. It wouldn't be too good if we offend them. The peak stage immortal king from the 9 Emperors' immortal state laughed, but he didn't directly reject. That's simple. Brothers, help me kill this brat. He doesn't seem to belong to any of the major powers. Zi Daolong pointed to Qin Wenyan. But this man's combat prowess is also very powerful. Earlier, he even killed a peak stage immortal king. That peak stage immortal king from the 9 Emperors' immortal state spoke, his words causing Zi Daolong to silently curse at this fellow. Seems like if he didn't promise him some benefits, the immortal king of the 9 Emperors' immortal state wouldn't act. Characters of this level were all wily old foxes. How about this? I owe Brother Zhu a favor. In the future, if there's a need, Zi Daolong, will definitely repay you. Zi Daolong spoke. The immortal king from the 9 Emperors' immortal state laughed. Brother Zi, why is there a need to be so polite? Since Brother Zi has spoken, we will act for Brother Zi and kill this man. You can focus on dealing with the other opponents. Zi Daolong nodded and moved towards Bai Qing's direction. The situation there was somewhat hard to control. He had to head over there to take control of the situation and kill that evil woman. At this moment, Qin Wenyan was preparing to join the battle. However, he heard the conversation between Zi Daolong and the immortal king from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. After that, the 5 immortal kings all turned their gazes onto him. Qin Wenyan wielded his saber and sword with both hands, radiating powerful law energy. Coldly, he stared ahead. If you guys want to obstruct me, I will kill you without mercy. What an arrogant fellow. This seat has already been at the peak stage of the immortal king realm for thousands of years. Even if your combat prowess is powerful, how dare you act so arrogantly before this seat? In addition, I don't intend to waste time with you, I will directly kill you. That peak stage immortal king in the lead stared at Qin Wenyan as he spoke. If you want to gang up on me, you can even speak in such a dignified manner. Why is there a need for this? If the 9 Emperors' immortal state wants to get involved in this, you better think things through. Bujie's voice rang out. It was as though he was going to clash with the people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. Bujie, you have already fallen to the devil path. You better be worried that the Wenxin temple will clean up your sect instead. That peak stage immortal king coldly spoke. After that, the 5 immortal kings all unleashed their emperor domains at the same time. For a period of time, a blinding killing light filled the sky, capable of destroying everything in its path. Go to hell. The 5 immortal kings from the 9 Emperors' immortal state shot out immortal light of laws at the same time. The fearsome light instantly enveloped everything within a radius of a few hundred miles. Qin Wenyan was also enveloped by the domain of laws. Each strand of immortal light was like a golden spear, indestructible, piercing towards Qin Wenyan. 4 ordinary mid-stage immortal kings, even if they were at the peak of this level, they wouldn't be able to block such an attack. Qin Wenyan wielded his sword and saber, standing proudly in the air. Dazzling golden runes flowed around him, resembling ancient Buddhist characters. There was a wondrous will contained within them. When the immortal light entered his body, it had no way to break through his defense of laws. Is this his immortal body of laws? Such an immortal body of laws is truly terrifying. The spectating immortal kings couldn't help but to sigh in their hearts when they saw Qin Wenyan's defense. However, the killing intent of the immortal kings from the 9 Emperors' immortal state vanished. The immortal light radiating from them grew even more intense as they grabbed out with their palms. A moment later, all sorts of divine weapons appeared within the immortal light. Golden swords, long spears, ancient spears, all of them pierced through space, aiming for Qin Wenyin. Boom! Qin Wenyin moved. There was no hesitation at all as he dashed towards the destructive attack. He allowed the terrifying might of the attack to slam into his body, completely disregarding it. This caused the immortal kings from the 9 emperors' immortal state to frown. This physique was somewhat unexpected. Go! The sharp sword in Qin Wentian's hand slashed out, piercing through the air, aiming for that peak stage immortal king. The sword hummed as it radiated a destructive sword intent, capable of annihilating everything. That peak stage immortal king retreated. The sharp sword seemed to have locked onto him. The eyes of the peak stage immortal king of the 9 emperors' immortal state gleamed with immortal light. With a wave of his hands, a screen of light appeared before him, blocking all the incoming attacks. With a thunderous boom, the screen of light shattered apart. However, the might of the sword intent was too great. That peak stage immortal king coldly snorted and waved his hand to repel the sword. But at the same time when this sword was chasing after him, Qin Wenyin had already rushed towards the other 4 immortal kings. With a stomp of his foot, a terrifying might that could suppress the heavens and earth bore down on them. This entire space seemed to be engulfed by a formless pagoda, suppressing everything. The 4 immortal kings instantly felt their bodies becoming less agile, as though they were being suppressed by an immense amount of power. The saber slashed out. It was a simple and unadorned saber strike, yet it was fast to the extreme, sharp to the extreme, infused with the sword saint's will. When this saber slashed out, the 4 immortal kings felt their minds trembling, as though their souls were being attacked. With a piercing sound, fresh blood splattered through the air. The 4 immortal kings were all struck by the saber light, and in an instant, all of them fell to the ground. Impudent! That peak stage immortal king's eyes widened in anger when he saw this scene. The 4 immortal kings of the 9 emperors' immortal state were actually all slain by a single saber strike from Qin Wenyin. I've said it before. For those who block me, I will kill them. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with coldness. He lifted his saber and slashed out once more. That peak stage immortal king only felt a bolt of lightning directly blasting into his mind, penetrating through his soul. He raised both his fists above his head and punched out at the same time. His royal immortal light transformed into an emperor armor that protected him, preventing the saber light from breaking through. But even so, his heart trembled violently as he felt an intense threat from Qin Wenyin. Qin Wenyin lifted his saber high up in the air. A terrifying will towered up into the clouds as his saber intent towered up into the sky. As this saber slashed down, it felt like even the void would be cleaved into 2. That peak stage immortal king only saw the saber light tearing through the sky before his body was split into 2. Another peak stage immortal king died under Qin Wentian's saber. This time around, the domineering saber sword immortal king killed 5 immortal kings consecutively. Chapter 1469. Is he going crazy? The spectators all felt their hearts trembling. 5 immortal kings from the 9 emperors' immortal state, including a peak stage immortal king, were all killed. A late phase mid-stage immortal king killed 5 immortal kings consecutively and did so with ease. There was simply no one on the same level who could contend against him. Where did this saber sword immortal king come from? How can he be so powerful? Does he want to contend against those existences in the city of ancient emperors, seizing emperor's fate and becoming an unparalleled character? Someone sighed. But given how violent he is, he killed 5 immortal kings from the 9 emperors' immortal state. Would the experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state spare him? Don't forget that there's a demon-level character in the 9 emperors' immortal state. That person is extremely terrifying. If he knew about this, he would surely rush over to kill the saber sword immortal king. Too ruthless, I'm afraid it would be hard for him to survive. He offended the 9 emperors' immortal state in one go. In addition to Zi Daolong and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, he has too many enemies. His cultivation base is still a little weak. It would be hard for him to survive. Someone spoke. They didn't doubt Qin Wentian's talent, but the city of ancient emperors was too dangerous now. This is the reason why you guys are unable to shine. A calm voice rang out. An immortal king among the crowd stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The emperor's fate behind him radiated boundless might as he spoke. Since the ancient times, which supreme character didn't conquer the world, defeating all enemies? For those ancient emperors, which one of them didn't step on the bones of countless people to attain their Tao? If you don't even dare to retaliate when others want to kill you, what qualifications do you have to stand out in this era? Maybe. Someone sighed. Maybe for those characters with such accomplishments, their courage is truly something we can't imagine. The Emperor realm is already so far away. Ancient emperors, I don't dare to agree with your words. Even if he's an unparalleled character, he should know how to endure in front of the bigger picture. Even if the other party wants to kill him, he hasn't matured yet and has extraordinary talent. It's only right for him to endure and wait until his cultivation base is high enough to take revenge. If he directly kills like this, even if he has the talent of an ancient emperor, he would still fall on the path of pursuit. Someone spoke. Haha, how many geniuses have there been since ancient times? How many of them could become ancient emperors? Is it really because their talent is not enough? How many heroes have fallen on the path of cultivation? Just like what you said, you think you can reach that cultivation realm just by enduring silently? This is the funniest joke I've ever heard. That immortal king laughed uproariously. How many immortal kings and emperors died trying to take that step? Yet, an immortal king actually has such ridiculous thoughts? How sad. Discussing the Tao with you is a form of humiliation. The expression of that immortal king earlier turned cold. But when he saw that Qin Wenyan still stood there with his hands clasped behind his back, exuding an air of arrogance. When he thought of what Qin Wenyan said earlier, he didn't dare to say anything more. The people at the side all understood what was going on when they saw this scene. This was the difference in temperament between the two of them. That immortal king who said he could endure silently did so, not daring to act at all. After Qin Wenyan killed the 5 immortal kings, the emperor's fate behind him grew even more terrifying. It was so bright that it was about to turn corporeal. He returned to the chaotic battlefield once more. His silhouette flashed as he sped towards the battlefield whereby Qing was at. The attacks of immortal kings were too ferocious. Hence, even if it was a group battle, the distance between each immortal king was still extremely vast. Even if there was a distance of tens of thousands of meters, they could cross it with a single step. Qin Wentian's eyes instantly locked onto one of the immortal kings. His silhouette flashed as he sped towards that direction. Qin Wentian's movement technique was extremely fast, like a great rock. That immortal king was currently fighting against a devil cultivator when he suddenly felt a sense of danger from behind him. He turned his gaze over and blasted out with a palm strike. A moment later, a terrifying meteor shot out, transforming into a beam of light that shot towards Qin Wenyan. If it smashed into a mountain range, it would definitely be able to destroy it. Qin Wenyan lifted his hand and slashed out with his saber, cleaving the meteor into 2. He didn't pause at all and instantly closed in. After that, he slashed out with his sword, transforming into a beam of light that sliced through the air. When that immortal king saw the vermilion bird sword art flying towards him, he blasted out with both his hands, causing the meteors to rain down on him. However, the sword intent of the vermilion bird sword art contained a holy sword intent that could lacerate everything. The vermilion bird sword art transformed into the form of a sword, penetrating through space, destroying all the meteors. After that, the vermilion bird sword art slashed out. 4 mid-stage immortal kings. There's basically no one who can be his opponent. They won't be able to withstand a single sword strike from him. Before this, when Qin Wenyan killed 4 immortal kings with a single slash, everyone understood that unless a supreme demon-level character like the Sabersword Immortal King appeared, they wouldn't be able to contend against him at the same level. If not, they would be slaughtered mercilessly. After killing one, Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered, akin to a great rock shuttling through the air, appearing before a mid-stage immortal king and slashing out with his saber. If he continues on like this, these people would all be killed by him. Earlier, Zi Daolong invited the experts of the Nine Emperors' immortal state to kill him. Most probably, they didn't expect him to be so powerful. The hearts of everyone trembled. Although there were some people more terrifying than Qin Wenin, for example, Tuoba Saint Sky, who had the ability to assimilate law energy, none of them could give the crowd such a shock as Qin Wenin. Qin Wenin instantly became the focal point, attracting the gazes of all the experts. The radiance of some people, as long as they were on the battlefield, no one would be able to block it. In the blink of an eye, Qin Wenin killed yet another immortal king. The number of immortal kings dying in his hands increased unceasingly, and all of them were Zi Daolong's subordinates. To Violet Mountain, this was a nightmare. Under Zidi, there weren't as many immortal kings as those from the immortal empires and supreme sections. However, Qin Wenin wouldn't show any mercy. Just like what Bujia and Jun Mengchen have said, Zidi didn't care about his status. As a peak-stage immortal emperor, he joined forces with Eastern Sage to kill him. Regardless of Eastern Sage or Zidi, both of them had already reached a point where they wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Back then, these two immortal emperors might still not act against him directly because of their status. But now, if they met again, they wouldn't show any mercy and would kill him directly. Since they were already like fire and water, how would Qin Wenin show any mercy? How could he show mercy to Zidi's subordinates? You guys block here, I will go kill him. Zi Daolong spoke, his voice cold to the extreme. With a flash of his silhouette, he gave up on his opponent and rushed towards Qin Wenin. Today, he planned to hunt the devilish female and initially thought that this battle would be very easy. Who would have thought that the situation would spiral out of his control, and there were already several immortal kings who were killed. This caused the look in Zi Daolong's eyes to be extremely terrifying. His killing intent towered up into the sky as he stared in the direction of Qin Wenin. Boom! A thunderous boom rang out. Zi Daolong's body was like a dragon as he roared, resembling a human-shaped gigantic beast. Violet light erupted forth from him, enveloping this entire region. The violet light transformed into a violet dragon, its eyes terrifying as it stared at Qin Wenin. As the son of Zidi, Zi Daolong naturally received the most guidance, inheriting Zidi's legacy. How could he be ordinary? Although his cultivation base was only at the initial phase of the peak stage, his aura was extremely tyrannical. Ordinary late-phase peak-stage immortal kings would find it hard to defend against him. He was confident and arrogant, but he had the qualifications to do so. Boom! From afar, Zi Daolong blasted out a draconic imprint towards Qin Wenin, containing boundless might. Violet Qi rose from the east, incomparably ferocious, capable of suppressing everything. Qin Wenin stood very far away, but he could already feel that majestic might. When the attack landed, the violet light engulfed everything. Within the draconic imprint, there seemed to be true dragons awakening, baring their fangs and claws, wanting to tear Qin Wenin apart. Qin Wenin suddenly had a hallucination. He was enveloped by the roars of dragons and was about to be torn apart by the demonic dragons. Qin Wentian's expression was as calm as ever. His eyes gleamed with coldness, but he still slashed out with his sword. Within the sword light, there seemed to be tiny swords swimming about, containing a holy will that radiated a towering sword might, wanting to tear the demonic dragons apart. Since you are courting death, I'll grant you your wish. Zi Daolong stepped out, his violet eyes gleaming with a boundless violet light, terrifying to the extreme. Qin Wenin stared at Zi Daolong, his eyes cold and heavy. Zi Daolong's aura caused him to feel a trace of threat. In addition, he had no way to know how strong Zi Daolong was. As the son of Zidi, Zi Daolong would definitely have many trump cards. Zi Daolong was definitely the strongest opponent Qin Wenin had ever faced head-on. Thinking back to those years ago, it was also in the city of ancient emperors. At that time, he fought against Zi Daoyang, seizing the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Time flowed by. Right now, the person standing before him was Zi Daoyang's elder brother, Zi Daolong. His strength was countless times stronger compared to Zi Daoyang. At this moment, Qin Wenin saw terrifying violet vortexes in Zi Daolong's eyes, causing Qin Wenin to feel wary. Zi Daolong seemed to be proficient in eye techniques and was extremely powerful. Boom! All of a sudden, Qin Wenyan only felt his mind trembling. The violet vortexes in his eyes grew frenzied, and in an instant, Qin Wenyan entered a violet world. Numerous violet dragons gushed towards him, exuding terrifying might. Illusory attacks. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed. His eyes gleamed with golden light as the power of truth gushed forth, allowing him to see through all illusions, breaking free from the purple-colored world. But even so, he could still see the attacks coming his way. Indeed, it was an eye technique, but it contained an attack power that was extremely terrifying. It was hard to defend against. However, he who cultivated the force of truth wasn't afraid of any illusory techniques. Slash! Boundless sword intent radiated from Qin Wenyan, tearing apart all the attacks. His eye technique was mainly an illusory technique, and the attack power wasn't that strong. It was directly destroyed by the sword intent, causing a strange look to appear on Zi Daolong's face. No wonder you can kill so many immortal kings. As expected, you do have some strength. If it wasn't for you killing so many immortal kings, I might have spared your life and recruited you as my subordinate. How arrogant! Everyone silently mused when they heard this. Qin Wenyan coldly laughed. Zi Daolong, you truly know how to boast shamelessly. Whether or not you can leave this place alive is still a problem. Chapter 1470. Zi Daolong and Qin Wenyan stared at each other, both of them exuding boundless arrogance. Zi Daolong said that if it wasn't for Qin Wenyan killing so many of his subordinates, he would consider recruiting Qin Wenyan as his subordinate. How arrogant was Zi Daolong? He actually wanted to recruit such a powerful opponent. As for Qin Wenyan, he directly threatened to kill him here. Could it be that this saber-sword immortal king can truly contend against Zi Daolong? Everyone was filled with doubt. It wasn't that they doubted Qin Wenyan's strength, but rather, it was because Zi Daolong was simply too extraordinary. His cultivation base was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm, and he was the son of Zidi, a demon-level genius. Although the saber-sword immortal king's combat prowess was terrifying, this battle would still be extremely dangerous. After so many battles, seems like your ego has already inflated. The violet light in Zi Daolong's eyes grew even more intense. He stretched out both his hands and abruptly clenched them. With a rumbling sound, the entire space trembled as his body glowed with a violet light, giving off an even more terrifying feeling, like he had an indestructible body. Zidi's ultimate art, the ultimate violet saint immortal art, is filled with boundless might. His attacks are tyrannical and tyrannical. Someone spoke in a low voice. Qin Wenyan had long since experienced two of Zidi's ultimate arts. One was the ultimate violet saint immortal art. The other was the Thousand Autumns Emperor art. Both of them contained boundless might, and back then when Zi Daolong unleashed them, they were already extremely powerful. Now that Zi Daolong unleashed both of Zidi's ultimate arts, the difference in power was naturally incomparable. Boom! Zi Daolong stomped out, causing the space to tremble. He walked towards Qin Wenyan, not caring about his opponent's sword attack at all. Lifting his palm, he directly blasted out. The violet palm imprint was like the palm of a divinity, capable of annihilating everything, blotting out the sun. Qin Wenyan brandished his saber as terrifying law energy circulated around it. With a single slash, a destructive scar appeared in the air, slashing into the violet palm imprint, causing a terrifying boom to echo out. Ziyu! Zi Daolong coldly spoke. His violet eyes turned incomparably terrifying, transforming into a spatial domain. In an instant, Qin Wenyan was trapped within. This was a world of violet qi, a law domain. Qin Wenyan's eyes still gleamed with the light of truth, able to see through all illusions. However, this time around, he discovered that this wasn't a pure illusion but a true law domain. This was a law domain created by his opponent's eye technique. He had no way to see through it with his eyes. In this space, Zi Daolong seemed to have transformed into a divinity that overlooked everything. His body was gigantic and he stared at Qin Wenyan. With a wave of his hands, The violet qi in the air converged into an indestructible violet spear that covered the heavens and earth. As Zi Daolong pointed out with his finger, the violet spear pierced through space, shooting towards Qin Wenyin. The spear was like a dragon, emitting dragon roars. Each violet spear was like a violet demonic dragon, wanting to annihilate everything. Nobody would be able to escape. Qin Wenyin was trapped within, he would die for sure. There was no path of survival, there was basically no way for him to escape. Ziyu. Seems like Zi Daolong has comprehended a law domain. Using his eye technique as a prison, he transformed into an independent dimension and he himself is the king of it, controlling the size of the dimension. The hearts of everyone trembled. Would Qin Wenyin be able to withstand such an attack? Zi Daolong was as expected of a peak-stage immortal king, the son of Zidi. Zidi must have imparted everything he knew to Zi Daolong, including his understanding of the martial Dao. How could Zi Daolong be ordinary? From this attack alone, one could tell how strong he was. If it was an ordinary peak-stage immortal king, they would have already been at a disadvantage. However, although this saber-sword immortal king was only a mid-stage immortal king, he had killed many peak-stage immortal kings before. It was impossible to gauge his full combat prowess and he should still have some trump cards up his sleeves. He wouldn't be killed so easily. Boundless energy blasted through the air, slamming into Qin Wenyin. In just an instant, a thunderous sound of impact rang out as violet qi churned wildly. The gazes of everyone stared in the direction where Qin Wenyin was at. After that, they saw a resplendent screen of sword light enveloping Qin Wenyin, protecting him within. Sword qi circulated around the screen, gleaming with a golden light. That terrifying attack was actually blocked by this screen of sword light. What a terrifying defense. Zi Daolong's violet eyes narrowed. With a wave of his hand, violet qi converged, transforming into a gigantic dragon spear that shot towards Qin Wenyin. Bang! The dragon spears slammed into the screen of sword light, causing it to tremble. The terrifying spears penetrated into the screen, but they were all torn apart by the sword intent contained within. This screen of sword light wasn't merely a screen of sword light, it was a type of defensive sword formation that contained boundless law runes. The sword intent contained within was incomparably terrifying. Bang, bang, bang. The dragon spears all suffered the same fate. Zi Daolong stared downwards only to hear Qin Wenyin speaking. Zi Daolong, is this all you have? If this is the case, it's far from enough. I'm just playing with you. Zi Daolong's expression remained unchanged as he emotionlessly spoke. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out as the violet might radiating from him grew even more violent. His body expanded as he transformed into a violet giant, like a divinity unexcelled in the world. A long spear appeared in Zi Daolong's hands. This was a divine spear that could change its size at will. Right now, it was over 1,000 meters long. Just the might radiating from it was sufficient to scare people to death. How strong can your defense be? Zi Daolong's voice rumbled, like the voice of a divinity. His palms were filled with violent might as he stabbed out with his spear, aiming for Qin Wentian's body. At this instant, a violet dragon could be seen revolving around the spear. The dragon revered the spear, incomparably divine. This spear strike was able to penetrate through the void, destroying everything. The immortal kings who were spectating from afar all felt their hearts trembling. This attack was too tyrannical. No matter how powerful Qin Wentian's screen of sword light was, he most probably wouldn't be able to block this heaven-shaking spear strike. If he couldn't block it, he wouldn't bother to block it. The screen of swords that enveloped Qin Wenyin suddenly transformed, transforming into a heaven-cleaving sword. The sword intent within the screen of swords transformed into a gigantic sword, capable of annihilating all existences as it directly clashed against the heaven-shaking spear that shot over from the void. The saber-sword immortal king didn't even intend to defend. He directly clashed with Zi Daolong. The spear and sword collided together as a dazzling light radiated forth. Zi Daolong's spear was forced back as his arms trembled. He stared at the towering sword in Qin Wentian's hands. This was no longer the divine weapon that Qin Wenyan had. This was a supreme sword formed from pure sword intent. His sword intent has already surpassed the might of divine weapons. The hearts of the spectators trembled. For cultivators, even if the divine weapons they used weren't that much stronger than the user, for the sake of compatibility, they would still surpass the user's own strength. However, this saber-sword immortal king was truly a monster. His sword intent was actually so powerful that it surpassed his divine weapon. At this instant, Zi Daolong's expression changed. He was actually forced back by Qin Wentian's attack. From his perspective, that sure-kill spear strike should have severed Qin Wentian's life. Even if he couldn't kill him, he would at least heavily injure him. However, he didn't. In fact, he was even forced back by that sword strike. That sword intent. Zi Daolong could sense the sword in Qin Wentian's hand. The sword intent radiating from it caused the sword formed from law energy to transform into a river of sword qi, extremely terrifying. In Qin Wentian's body, the holy will gushed forth ferociously, flowing into the sword of law energy in his hand. For this battle against Zi Daolong, he naturally had to go all out. His eyes flashed with killing intent. He wanted to kill the son of the Violet Emperor here. Back then, he didn't manage to kill Zi Daoyang and was even hunted down by Zidi. Since this was the case, he might as well kill a descendant of Zidi. Bzz. Qin Wentian's body was like a great rock as he soared up into the air. He was like a bolt of lightning as he directly slashed out at Zi Daolong. A terrifying vermilion bird manifested from his sword, capable of destroying everything. Zi Daolong roared in rage. His long spear was like a dragon, blasting out explosively towards the sword might. The demonic dragon collided with the vermilion bird sword, causing everything to crumble apart. At the same time, Zi Daolong's body shrank in size, making it easier for him to be struck by the sword might. Chi-chi. A beam of sword light shot over. Zi Daolong only felt a piercing pain in his violet eyes. That sword contained the power of illusions, causing him to feel as though everything was surreal. This was none other than the Dream Devil Sword art created by Qin Wenyin using his holy will. Boom! A shocking sword stabbed out, like a divine elephant, suppressing everything. Zi Daolong instantly felt his entire body being suppressed by a terrifying might as that explosive sword might gushed over. A swishing sound rang out. Although Zi Daolong evaded, one of his arms was still severed. Fresh blood flowed unceasingly. Zi Daolong let out a roar of rage, shaking the heavens and earth. His violet eyes gleamed with a violent light as Zidi's other ultimate technique, the Thousand Autumns Emperor art, was unleashed. That attack earlier was too sudden and too violent. Zi Daolong didn't even have the chance to unleash his full strength before one of his arms was severed. I want you to live a life worse than death. Zi Daolong howled in rage. The space manifested by his violet eyes revolved frenziedly, wanting to bind Qin Wenyin. The violet spear in his hand directly flew out, aiming for Qin Wenyin. Qin Wentian's sword was as fast as lightning. This time around he executed the dragon sword art, clashing against Zi Daolong. Qin Wenyin brandished his sharp sword and slashed out several sword arts. However, boundless runic light manifested before Zi Daolong, transforming on their own, actually devouring Qin Wentian's attacks and reflecting them back to him. This was the wondrous effect of the Thousand Autumns Emperor art. Bzz. At this moment, Qin Wentian's eyes were incomparably demonic. Bolts of lightning shot out from his eyes, directly penetrating through his violet eyes and into Zi Daolong's sea of consciousness. At this instant, Zi Daolong only felt an attack appearing in his soul. Soul attack. Zi Daolong only felt his entire body turning cold. Qin Wenyin not only had unparalleled attacks, he was also proficient in soul attacks. Although his Thousand Autumns Emperor art was very powerful, it could only be used for ordinary attacks. It couldn't defend against soul attacks. At this instant, Zi Daolong truly felt the threat of death looming over him. His entire body turned cold. This man was a true enemy, an enemy that could take his life. Chapter 1471. Qin Wentian's movements were extremely fast, revolving around Zi Daolong. Occasionally, a shocking sword intent would erupt forth, as fast as lightning. At the same time, his powerful soul energy gushed forth, blasting into Zi Daolong's sea of consciousness, causing Zi Daolong to have no time to deal with anything else. His ultimate Violet Saint Immortal Art and Thousand Autumns Emperor Art were no longer as powerful as before. However, his defense was still as strong as ever. Purple light shone from his body as a purple giant appeared behind him. His palms slammed out continuously, and if he was hit, he would be able to shatter anything. He only had his right hand left, and he gripped his spear tightly as he continued to attack. He no longer had the arrogance and disdain he had before, and had become extremely cautious. Zi Daolong is trapped. He seems to have lost the confidence he had earlier. The battle has become more conservative. This saber sword Immortal King's attacks are so powerful, growing stronger and stronger. His sword arts are shocking and his sword intent is terrifying. Also, each of his attacks is like a sword formation. Rumble! From another direction, Zi Daolong's protector rushed over. This protector was a late-stage peak-stage Immortal King. When he saw Zi Daolong's arm being severed, he immediately wanted to rush over to protect Zi Daolong. Although victory and defeat has yet to be determined, if Zi Daolong really failed, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves. Block him. Bai Qing coldly spoke. Several powerful devil cultivators erupted forth with their devil domains, causing this entire space to glow with a blood-colored light, blocking out everything, not allowing any experts to break free. Before this, Bai Qing said that she would definitely kill Zi Daolong. Now that there was someone who might succeed, how could she allow Zi Daolong to have a chance to aid him? Do you guys really want to form a grudge with the Violet Mountain? A roar of rage rang out. Several Immortal Kings wanted to break free. Your Violet Mountain's young master is fighting against someone fair and square. If he is killed, it can only mean that he is useless. Before this, he was incomparably arrogant, wanting to kill others. Now, you want to use the name of the Violet Mountain? Bujie calmly spoke. Do you think my Devil Mountain would fear you? What a joke. The battle here was still as shocking as before. As Zi Daolong continued fighting, the attacks on his soul grew increasingly fierce. His confidence was constantly weakening, and what was even more terrifying was that he discovered that Qin Wentian's attacks were still growing stronger. It was as though he had countless trump cards that he had yet to unleash. At this moment, Qin Wentian's eyes burst with a dazzling cold light. His figure flashed and he stretched out his left hand. A small tower seemed to appear in Qin Wentian's palm. Domain. With a cold snort, his law domain enveloped the entire battlefield. Only the astral light was obstructed. What is he doing? Is he going to use his trump card to kill Zi Daolong? Someone exclaimed when he saw this scene. Before this, he didn't release his law domain at all. Could it be that he still has some hidden trump cards and wants to kill Zi Daolong silently? Zi Daolong roared, releasing his astral souls. Behind him, the violet giant wielded two heaven-shaking spears and frenziedly stabbed out, causing chaos in the sky. Even the void was on the verge of collapsing, terrifying to the extreme. Qin Wenyan was still moving about. The reason why he sealed this space was because he wanted to conceal his identity. After all, if he unleashed some of his power, others might be able to find out his true identity. Although Zi Daolong was someone he had to kill, Zidi would surely be enraged once he killed him. Using the identity of the saber sword Immortal King to kill Zi Daolong would save him some trouble. The tiny pagoda in his hand grew brighter and brighter. Qin Wentian abruptly stepped out. With a thunderous boom, his law domain erupted forth, suppressing everything. At the same time, the tiny pagoda shot out, causing terrifying clanging sounds to ring out as numerous pagoda after pagoda appeared above Zi Daolong. Even the violet giant behind Zi Daolong was suppressed. Zi Daolong roared in rage. Suppress! Qin Wentian roared. After that, he slashed out with his saber, directly aiming for Zi Daolong's soul. Zi Daolong completely went berserk, but he was still suppressed to this extent. Given his powerful cultivation base, he was actually trapped to this extent. Qin Wentian's expression was as cold as ever. His movement technique flashed as he stabbed out with his sword, aiming for Zi Daolong's head. Scram! Zi Daolong took out a heaven-shaking mirror. In an instant, all the energy in the surroundings was devoured by it. Qin Wenyin only felt that the sword in his hand was about to be sucked into it as well. Zi Daolong howled in rage as his palm blasted out, slamming into Qin Wentian's body. In just an instant, Qin Wenyan groaned in misery as he coughed out blood. The light from the mirror shot up into the sky, breaking apart everything. Astral light cascaded downwards. The aura of an emperor-ranked weapon. Zi Daolong is a peak-stage immortal king, borrowing the might of an emperor-ranked weapon. Everyone sighed in shock. Zi Daolong was actually forced to such an extent? However, this place was the city of ancient emperors. Kings and emperors had their own Dao. In the air, a formless law energy manifested, akin to the wrath of the heavens. It instantly locked down the space where Qin Wenyan and Zi Daolong were at. That terrifying law energy directly blocked the might of the emperor-ranked weapon, blocking the astral light that cascaded downwards. In fact, there was even a formless law energy that blasted downwards, slamming into the mirror as punishment. A crisp sound rang out as the emperor-ranked weapon exploded. Astral light radiated outwards, blinding everyone's eyes. Was this the Tao of Law in the city of ancient emperors? Emperor-ranked energy was used to contend against immortal emperors. It was forbidden to interfere in a battle between immortal kings. Scram! Zi Daolong roared. Although Qin Wenyan was injured, he killed his way out once more. His sword light was extremely dazzling, directly imprinting itself into Zi Daolong's eyes, causing him to enter a dreamscape. Die! Qin Wentian's killing intent towered up into the sky. This sword strike of his was a life-reaping sword. Zi Daolong roared. He raised his arms in front of him as he rushed forward. The sword slashed out, causing blood to splatter. The destructive sword strike directly penetrated through Zi Daolong's chest as a terrifying aura bore down on him. After that, the silhouette of an immortal king suddenly appeared, exuding a heaven-shaking might. A true immortal emperor stood proudly in the air, radiating towering rage. Violet qi circulated around him. This was none other than Zidi. Could it be that the immortal sense of an emperor can interfere in a battle of this level? Qin Wenyan coldly laughed. Even if an immortal emperor appeared, it was ultimately just a strand of immortal sense. At the immortal king realm, especially at the later levels, immortal sense was no longer that useful. It was just a strand of immortal sense. Let alone the fact that this place was governed by the rules of the city of ancient emperors. The law energy bore down. Zidi's body was enveloped by violet light. He stared at Qin Wenyan. Spare him this once. Zidi knew that his immortal sense had no way to control Qin Wenyan. Hence, he didn't act too forcefully. However, Qin Wenyan merely smiled at him. Scram! As the sound of his voice rang out, countless people were stunned. This fellow was crazy. He even dared to curse at Zidi's immortal sense. This was simply an insult to Zidi, a peak-stage immortal emperor. Zidi's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. His law energy frenziedly devoured the violet light radiating from Zidi. After that, Zidi's eyes stared at Qin Wenyan, as though wanting to see through him, causing fear to appear in Qin Wentian's heart. However, he didn't know that Qin Wenyan was already his mortal enemy. How could he spare Zi Daolong? If you kill me, you will become enemies with the entire Violet Mountain. Even your friends and family will be hunted down by the Violet Mountain. Zi Daolong threatened. Zi Daolong, you are truly pitiful. As a peak-stage immortal king, you actually dare to say such words. I truly feel pity for you. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, a soul attack shot out from his eyes. His sword stabbed out as a torrential sword intent transformed into a sword river, gushing forth, wanting to destroy everything. Zi Daolong roared. That formless pagoda intent bore down on him. For this battle, he was already powerless to reverse the situation. Zi Daolong was the son of Zidi. He came to the city of ancient emperors to contend for supremacy, wanting to defeat all the heroes in the world. Who would have thought that he would be killed here by a nameless immortal king? Sword light descended, both his arms were severed. How could he block Qin Wenyin? Zi Daolong's violet eyes flashed with an intense reluctance. Why are you doing this, willing to pay any price to kill me? Zi Daolong spoke with reluctance. Because, I'm Qin Wenyin. A voice rang out in Zi Daolong's mind. His eyes instantly widened as the sword light slashed down, slashing down. Zi Daolong's eyes were still wide open. Before he died, he finally understood why the saber-sword immortal king wanted him dead. Before he died, he was still shocked. Why did Qin Wenyin already have the strength to kill him? Back then, that ant-like character was someone he went to ask the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan for. Why was that person so powerful to the extent where he could kill him? It was destined that he would never be able to find the answer. At the instant Zi Daolong died, the entire space turned silent. The immortal kings from afar stared in shock at this scene, speechless in their hearts. Zi Daolong's head was severed, he died. The eyes on his head were still wide open, filled with reluctance. Before this, he was lofty, unexcelled in the world. As a peak-stage immortal king with unrivaled combat prowess, he was also the son of Zidi and had an emperor-ranked weapon. But today he still died here. In the eastern regions of the immortal realms, at a place extremely far away from the city of ancient emperors, there was a violet mountain. At this moment, on the violet mountain, a terrifying might swept over everything. Towering flames of rage filled the area as violet qi gushed forth, causing the sky to change color. Wu Xiu, who was on the violet mountain, was enraged. His heart trembled as he stared at the heavenly palace in the center of the violet mountain. Zidi was infuriated. What was going on? With a thunderous boom, Zidi soared up into the air, staring disdainfully at the world. He was a peak-stage immortal emperor, and it was rare for there to be someone who could fight against him. However, he had lost two of his sons, Zi Daoyang and Zi Daolong. He inclined his head. A pair of violet eyes appeared in the air, peering into the surroundings. The hearts of the cultivators on the violet mountain trembled violently. Everyone stopped their cultivation, not daring to say a word. Zidi was enraged. Something shocking must have happened. It has been a very long time since they saw Zidi so enraged. Violet Mountain Immortal King Wu Xiu, move out. Follow me to the city of ancient emperors to kill this man. Zidi calmly spoke. In an instant, the violet light in the air changed, transforming into a figure. This was none other than Qin Wentian's incarnation of the saber-sword Immortal King. Zidi was enraged, ordering the Violet Mountain Immortal King to move out to kill a man. What did this man do exactly? Zidi's son, Zi Daolong, was cultivating in the city of ancient emperors. Could it be, when they thought of this, their bodies trembled? Chapter 1472. In the surroundings of the city of ancient emperors, the spectators were still in shock from Zi Daolong's death. This saber-sword immortal king actually killed Zi Daolong on the spot. He roared at Zidi's immortal sense, telling Zidi to scram. After that, he decapitated Zi Daolong. Before this, Zi Daolong humiliated him, wanting to kill the saber-sword immortal king. But now, he actually ended up being killed. It was extremely miserable. Zi Daolong's death caused the other battles on the other battlefields to stop. After all, the core character of this battle was none other than Zi Daolong. It was because he wanted to hunt down the devil maidens of the myriad devil islands. Zi Daolong's death was the core character of this battle. Wu Xiu from the Violet Mountain trembled as he stared at Zi Daolong's corpse, not daring to believe this was real. In the immortal realms, as long as the descendants of immortal emperors didn't offend two terrifying characters, they wouldn't die so easily, let alone the descendants of peak-stage immortal emperors. Also, Zi Daolong himself had a peak-stage immortal king cultivation base. Even if he offended an Empyrean, Zi Daolong wouldn't dare to kill him. After all, it wasn't so easy to endure the revenge of a peak-stage immortal emperor. However, Zi Daolong offended a madman. This saber-sword immortal king actually killed Zi Daolong in front of everyone. Let alone the people from the Violet Mountain, Even those from the Heavenly Talisman Realm and the Devil Mountain were taken aback. They didn't expect that Qin Wendian would be so ruthless, killing Zi Daolong just like that. Zi Daolong has fallen. Zidi will definitely not spare you. There are many immortal kings under Zidi, and they would most probably send people to kill their way to the city of ancient emperors. Sir, you might have to hide for a while. Bujie transmitted his voice to Qin Wendian. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed as he glanced at Bujie. After that, he spoke. Earlier in the ancient emperor palace, Zi Daolong already humiliated me by saying that I wasn't qualified to enter the floating palace and was on equal footing with him. Earlier he even wanted to kill me. But the facts have proven that Zi Daolong is merely SOSO. Since he wants to kill this seat, how can this seat spare him? Those who want to kill this seat must die. Qin Wendian's domineering declaration was to strengthen his image as the saber-sword immortal king. He didn't want people to suspect that he had a grudge with Zi Daolong. He came to the city of ancient emperors with the identity of the saber-sword immortal king. By competing for supremacy here, he would surely have many enemies. In order to avoid too much trouble, it was undoubtedly the best choice to separate the saber-sword immortal king from Qin Wendian. All of you, prepare to suffer the wrath of Zidi. A peak-stage immortal king from the Violet Mountain icily spoke. His body was trembling as a cold intent radiated from him. I originally planned to kill Zi Daolong. No matter what, all of you will blame this grudge on me. Hence, continue to kill, there's no need to hold back. Bai Qing decisively commanded. The person she hated was none other than Zidi. As a peak-stage immortal emperor, he actually disregarded his status and wanted to kill Qin Wendian. Since Zidi already wanted to kill her Qin Wendian Gij, what else was there to say? She could only kill. She wouldn't care about offending Zidi. She originally came here to kill Zi Daolong. What guts! That peak-stage immortal king roared in rage. However, the devil cultivators had already rushed over. Qin Wendian's eyes were cold to the extreme. His silhouette flashed, cooperating with the other devil cultivators as they rushed towards Wuxiu from the Violet Mountain. To him, things were even simpler. These people would be his enemies in the future. If he could kill as many as he could now, he would do so. What should we do? The experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Supreme Sword School exchanged glances as they silently transmitted their voices. Once Zi Daolong died, the situation was already out of control. Tuoba Saint Sky and Jun Mengchen were also transmitting their voices. Jun Mengchen spoke, Senior Brother Tuoba, these Wuxiu from the Violet Mountain are hesitating. Most probably, they don't want to continue fighting. Let's block them and allow Senior Brother Qin and the experts from the Devil Mountain to focus on dealing with Wuxiu from the Violet Mountain. Tuoba Saint Sky nodded. Their auras gushed forth, enveloping the immortal kings from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Just like what Jun Mengchen predicted, these people truly didn't have the heart to continue fighting. But it wasn't good for them to abandon the experts from the Violet Mountain and leave. Hence, during the battle, they intentionally drew the battlefield away and didn't use their full strength. The experts from the Violet Mountain were surrounded. Qin Wendian unceasingly slaughtered some of the immortal kings. At this moment, a peak-stage immortal king roared in rage, "Let's leave." As the sound of his voice faded, the Violet Mountain immortal king tried to escape in different directions. However, how could the devil cultivators and Qin Wendian let them go so easily? The judiciary prison and various other domains were unleashed, trapping and killing them. In the end, only a few extremely powerful peak-stage immortal kings managed to escape. There was no way for them to stay behind. As for the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, they actually left the battlefield unknowingly. Zi Daolong died unjustly. When these people saw Zi Daolong's death, they knew that Zidi would definitely be enraged. They were hoping that Zidi would send reinforcements to kill these people. They only wanted to protect themselves. The alliance between different powers isn't so solid after all. Everyone whispered. Qin Wendian glanced at the battlefield, staring at Bai Qing, Bujie and the other devil cultivators as he spoke. Everyone, you have to be more careful in the future. Sabersword Immortal King, you have to be careful too. Bujie reminded. After all, They fought side by side before. Although they didn't know that the saber-sword immortal king was Qin Wenyan, they still had a good impression of him. After this battle, they were like friends. Farewell. Qin Wenyan clasped his hands. After that, he glanced in the direction of Jun Mingchen before his silhouette flashed as he departed alone. He wasn't afraid that Wu Xiu of the Violet Mountain would find trouble with him and deal with him. Earlier he killed Zi Daolong. Most probably, it was enough to shock many supreme immortal kings. Although Zi Daolong was only at the initial phase of the peak stage, his combat prowess was at the late phase and he was still killed by Qin Wenyan. No matter who wanted to deal with him, they would have to think twice before doing so. The spectators all sighed. After that, they gradually dispersed. The news of Zi Daolong's death caused a huge commotion even in the city of ancient emperors. This was especially so for those in the immortal realms. After all, Zi Daolong was still quite famous. He was the son of Zidi, yet he was killed. This caused many supreme immortal kings to be filled with curiosity towards this mysterious saber-sword immortal king. After that, more news circulated. Before the saber-sword immortal king killed Zi Daolong, he had already killed several other immortal kings, including a peak-stage immortal king from the Supreme Sword School. In an instant, the saber-sword immortal king's name resounded through the city of ancient emperors. Many immortal kings were discussing about this crazy fellow. He simply didn't have those peak powers in his eyes at all. After that, many immortal kings wanted to challenge the saber-sword immortal king, wanting to see how strong he was exactly and whether he could kill Zi Daolong. Someone said that this son of Zidi, Zi Daolong, didn't live up to his reputation. A peak-stage immortal king was actually killed by a mid-stage immortal king. This was an extremely disgraceful battle. If Zi Daolong didn't die, he wouldn't be able to afford to lose so much face. Naturally, there were also people who admired the saber-sword immortal king's courage. There were also people who wanted to meet this saber-sword immortal king. What sort of character was he exactly? He could kill Zi Daoyang in a situation where so many experts from the Violet Mountain gathered, telling a peak-stage immortal emperor to scram, and even daring to kill immortal kings from the Supreme Sword School. Several days later, outside an ancient palace in the city of ancient emperors, several experts stood there. Their gazes were fixed on the dilapidated palace as their countenances gleamed with sharpness. In the city of ancient emperors, there were countless secrets hidden within. The experts in the city of ancient emperors were all searching for them. Who is he? Someone saw a man sitting cross-legged in the dilapidated palace, his eyes closed in cultivation. What a shocking amount of emperor's fate. Someone stared at the emperor's fate behind him and didn't dare to antagonize him. That emperor's fate was too dazzling. Clearly, this was someone who had a glorious battle record and was respected and feared by many. Only such a person would be able to gather enough emperor's fate. Saber and sword. Someone noticed the saber and sword on his back as a look of interest flashed in their eyes. Right now, there was a person whose name caused a commotion in the city of ancient emperors. This person was none other than the saber-sword immortal king. You are the saber-sword immortal king? A voice rang out. Some of the immortal kings actually opened up a path as several figures walked over. However, there was a single person in the center, the person in the lead. This was a female immortal king, radiating a dazzling radiance. With just a single glance, one would be able to sense the nobility exuding from her. This was a woman whose beauty could cause the sun and moon to lose their luster. Just by standing there, she instantly became the center of attention, attracting the gazes of everyone. Su Qingyao. When the immortal kings saw this woman, they instantly knew who she was. Su Qingyao, one of the peak beauties of the central regions. She was simply too outstanding. Not only was her beauty unparalleled, her talent and background were shocking as well, causing countless men to fall in love with her and women to be jealous. Qin Wentian's eyes were closed. It was like he didn't hear anything. During these days, he was harassed by many people. Maybe it was because he killed his way to fame that day. Many people could guess his identity the moment they saw the saber and sword on his back. She is talking to you. Don't you think it's a little rude to ignore her? Su Qingyao had a smile on her face. She curiously surveyed Qin Wenyan, a mid-stage immortal king who could kill Zi Daolong. Su Qingyao's cultivation base was also at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, and she was at the peak of this level. This man before her was on the same level as her, and his fame shook the entire city of ancient emperors. How do you want me to reply? Qin Wenyan opened his eyes and glanced at Su Qingyao. His eyes flashed with a bright light as he felt a sense of awe. This woman before him was definitely one of the most beautiful women he had ever seen. Her long robes accentuated her slender and exquisite figure, making her look flawless and flawless. She was truly a supreme beauty in the mortal world. Saber Sword Immortal King, I want to discuss the martial Tao with you. Is it not worth it for you to speak up? Su Qingyao's smile grew even more radiant when she saw the fluctuations in Qin Wenyan's eyes. Qin Wenyan silently mused. He then stood up and smiled. With such a beauty here, wouldn't discussing the martial Tao be harmful? Why don't we talk about romance? Wouldn't that be even more beautiful? The expressions of everyone changed as they stared at the saber sword immortal king. This fellow was still so audacious, daring to kill Zi Daolong and even teasing Fairy Su. Could it be that he didn't know what sort of character Su Qingyao was? She wasn't someone he could tease. Once, there was a peak-stage immortal king who teased Su Qingyao, and the consequences were extremely tragic. In fact, Su Qingyao didn't even need to act. Chapter 1473. Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes flashed as she stared at Qin Wenyan with a strange expression. She naturally knew of her charm, and very few men would be able to resist it. However, for those who knew of her identity, even if they admired her in their hearts, they would all stay far away from her, not daring to be disrespectful to her. However, this saber-sword immortal king actually wanted to talk about romance with her? Her beautiful eyes flashed with a smile. Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wenyan. Sure, let's spar. If you can defeat me, we can talk about romance again. As a peak-stage mid-stage immortal king, Su Qingyao felt some curiosity towards the saber-sword immortal king. She wanted to see his strength, and sparring would undoubtedly be the most direct method. Fairy, don't lie to me. If I win against Fairy after sparring, I want to talk about romance for 7 days and 7 nights with Fairy. Qin Wenyan smiled at Su Qingyao. She wanted to see his strength? The price for doing so wasn't small. If not, there would always be people coming to the city of ancient emperors to spar with him. Su Qingyao's eyes flashed with a strange light, but she still smiled. Let's see how strong the saber-sword immortal king is then. Since Fairy wishes to chat with this seat so much, this seat shall accept it. Fairy, please be careful. Runes flashed on Qin Wenyan's body as the fluctuations of the Vajra Holy will enveloped him. Su Qingyao's peak-stage mid-stage immortal king aura gushed forth as she smiled at Qin Wenyan. She stretched out her jade-like hand and pointed a finger at Qin Wenyan. In an instant, a sea of flowers appeared, enveloping Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan stood in the midst of the sea of flowers. He stared ahead only to see Su Qingyao floating in the air like a celestial maiden. Her graceful figure danced in the air as she walked towards him, smiling sweetly. Just a smile from her was sufficient to cause the souls of men to be infatuated. Qin Wenyan had a smile on his face as he stared at the beautiful scenery before him. At the same time, he stretched out his palm and blasted out a Vajra palm imprint. It was like a gigantic Buddha hand, capable of crushing everything. Pooh! Her slender jade-like finger was plump and fair, indescribably beautiful. When it landed on the Vajra palm imprint, it directly shattered the Vajra palm imprint. The symbols collapsed, the ancient characters shattered, and the palm imprint split apart. Such a beautiful illusory scene, causing one to sink into it. Such a beautiful finger, yet it was able to unleash such an attack. Very good move. Qin Wenyan's eyes turned golden, seeing through all illusions. The sea of flowers vanished. Su Qingyao's figure could no longer be seen. There was only the might of that finger, tyrannical, exuding boundless might. If it wasn't for him personally experiencing it, it was very hard to imagine that such a finger would be able to unleash such a powerful strike. If it was an ordinary mid-stage immortal king, he would have died with a single finger. So it turned out that the scene earlier was merely an illusion created by Su Qingyao. She was a supreme beauty in the mortal world, and as long as she used herself as the primer, the feeling she gave off would be even more realistic. Her existence, her beauty, was a part of the illusion, causing people to sink into it. You actually possess a Buddhist technique? Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes caused the world to lose its color. The illusion appeared once more, manifesting many images of Su Qingyao. Her 5 fingers shot out in unison, shooting out dazzling beams of law light. Each and every one of her fingers contained a terrifying might within. Su Qingyao's background was extraordinary. Her parents were both immortal emperors, and she inherited her mother's abilities in illusions. As for this heaven-shattering finger, it was one of her father's ultimate arts. If one cultivated it to the extreme, a single finger attack would be able to shatter the heavens and earth, containing boundless might. Su Qingyao condensed the might of her finger into a single point, piercing through everything. Qin Wendian had a smile on his face. Su Qingyao was at the same cultivation level as him. How could her illusionary techniques fool his eyes? He continued to sit cross-legged, not moving at all. The runes circulating around him grew even more resplendent. His body was like a grand talisman formation, completely formed by the heavens, radiating boundless Vajra law intent. It was like a Vajra king had manifested, forming an indestructible golden body. Her slender jade-like fingers pierced into Qin Wentian's body as cracking sounds rang out unceasingly. Even his Vajra body was covered in cracks. This Su Qingyao's strength was truly extraordinary. But at the same level, Qin Wentian was confident that she wouldn't be his opponent at all. Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light when she saw that her attacks had no way to break through Qin Wentian's defense. This saber-sword immortal king truly lived up to his reputation since he could kill Zi Daolong. He truly had shocking strength. Just the defensive prowess he displayed was already enough to shock people. The martial Dao is emotionless. How boring it is to talk about it. Qin Wendian laughed. He stretched out his left hand as a pagoda intent radiated forth, suppressing everything. In an instant, Su Qingyao, who wanted to retreat, was suppressed by that supreme suppressive might. Her body trembled, but she had no way to break free. It felt like there was a pagoda piercing through her body. So, Fairy, why don't you talk about romance with me? How wonderful is that? Qin Wentian spoke. He stretched out his right hand, manifesting a sky-shocking sword intent. In an instant, Su Qingyao only felt her entire body turning cold. It felt like the god of death was drawing near. Fighting in close combat with the saber-sword immortal king was simply asking for abuse. Could it be that you can bear to destroy a flower? Su Qingyao smiled, mesmerizing everyone. Qin Wendian was so mesmerized that he fell into a daze. Luckily, he had cultivated the force of truth and his will was extremely strong. He wasn't affected by it. He continued smiling. I naturally can't bear to destroy a flower. I only wish to chat with Fairy for 7 days and 7 nights without rest. As he spoke, his fingers stabbed out, entering Su Qingyao's body. A violent energy gushed forth, destroying her energy, causing Su Qingyao to groan in misery. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth as her countenance turned as pale as paper. Impudent! Numerous immortal kings stepped out. When they saw Su Qingyao, their auras gushed forth. However, they only saw Qin Wendian using his left hand to pull Su Qingyao into his embrace, causing her to lean against him. Her fragrance drifted over. His finger lightly landed on Su Qingyao's face as he smiled. Stand there and don't move. As the sound of his voice faded, those immortal kings who were unleashing their auras all stopped. They were all dumbfounded. After that, their eyes flickered with flames of rage as they stared at Qin Wendian with hatred. This bastard actually dared to insult Fairy Qingyao. Su Qingyao's beauty was incomparably beautiful and was admired by countless immortal kings. She was like a goddess, but right now, she was actually pulled into the embrace of this bastard. He simply deserves death. Su Qingyao's expression finally changed. Before this, She was smiling when dealing with everything because everything was under her control. However, this saber-sword immortal king was so tyrannical, actually daring to disrespect her. What sort of character was she, Su Qingyao? She had never suffered such treatment before. Su Qingyao tried to struggle free, but Qin Wentian's arms tightened around her. His fingers brushed past Su Qingyao's face, gently caressing her perfect countenance as he smiled. Fairy is as beautiful as a celestial maiden. Being able to converse with Fairy for 7 days and 7 nights is truly a wonderful thing in the world. Saber-sword immortal king. I'm Su Qingyao. She revealed her identity, wanting to make Qin Wendian feel trepidation. Fairy Qingyao, you are beautiful and your name is beautiful as well. However, Qin Wendian acted as though he had never heard of this. His fingers continued to be dishonest. Su Qingyao radiated coldness as she spoke. Saber-sword immortal king, have you gone mad? How dare you treat me like this? Fairy, what are you saying? Before this, Fairy has already promised me that if I can defeat you in a spar, you will chat with me about romance. Fairy, are you not going to fulfill your promise? Qin Wendian furrowed his brows. His hand slowly slid down Su Qingyao's face, landing on her beautiful neck. In fact, it seemed like his hand was still moving downwards. Su Qingyao's body stiffened. She didn't dare to move at all. Her face was red from anger and humiliation. She, Su Qingyao, was a supreme beauty with extraordinary talent and an illustrious background. Those who pursued her were all extremely talented and exuded boundless magnificence. However, all of them treated her with incomparable respect. But today, there was actually someone who dared to treat her like this. The experts in the surroundings were all dumbfounded when they saw the saber-sword immortal king taking liberties with Su Qingyao. The holy and flawless Fairy Qingyao actually fell to the hands of this man. This fellow was truly a madman, daring to kill Zi Daolong and daring to treat Fairy Qingyao like this. Fairy still hasn't answered this seat's question. Will you fulfill your promise? Qin Wentian's brows flashed with coldness. His hand continued moving downwards. Su Qingyao's body trembled as her breathing quickened. She spoke in embarrassment and anger. Fine, I will fulfill my promise and accompany you to chat about romance for 7 days and 7 nights. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he replied, but Fairy seems to be somewhat unwilling. His hands faintly touched the peak of the mountain. Su Qingyao turned pale with fright, but she forced a smile. How can that be? That's right. Qin Wendian laughed. He retracted his roaming palms and hugged Su Qingyao. His silhouette flashed as he soared up into the air. He smiled. Fairy Qingyao and I are prepared to converse for 7 days and 7 nights. Could it be that all of you are intending to spectate? After speaking, Qin Wendian laughed uproariously as he departed. Numerous immortal kings stepped out, chasing after him. Their countenances were as pale as paper, their anger towering up into the sky. This saber-sword immortal king actually dared to defile the goddess in their hearts. This saber-sword immortal king is about to court a calamity. Some of the spectators sighed in admiration. Yeah, this saber-sword immortal king basically doesn't know what sort of character Su Qingyao is. He dares to disrespect Su Qingyao. This is definitely courting trouble for himself. Forget it, hasn't he caused enough trouble? Killing Zi Daolong, slaying a peak-stage immortal king from the Supreme Sword School, killing an immortal king from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty. Which one of these isn't a calamity? Now that Su Qingyao is here, there's basically nothing this saber-sword immortal king doesn't dare to do. If anyone wants to find trouble with him, they have to be prepared to pay the price. That's right, he wants to challenge those existences in the city of ancient emperors. One of Su Qingyao's pursuers should be one of those existences. He would definitely not spare the saber-sword immortal king. Yeah, this saber-sword immortal king's talent is unparalleled. If he breaks through to the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm, he might really be able to contend against those existences. But now, his cultivation base is still too low. Even Zi Daolong doesn't have the qualifications, he can't be considered anything in front of those existences. Qin Wendian is still very far away from that. This time around he dares to disrespect Su Qingyao and is truly in the wrong. This calamity is even greater compared to killing Zi Daolong. As this news circulated out, another thunderous rumble rang out in the city of ancient emperors. Before the previous wave subsided, another wave arose. The name of the saber-sword immortal king was known by more and more people. What sort of character was Su Qingyao? Her fame was extremely great. How major of a matter would it be for someone to disrespect her? In an instant, countless geniuses were waiting to watch the show. At this moment, in a certain ancient hall, an immortal king exuding boundless magnificence laughed uproariously. This time around, someone dares to disrespect the woman you are wooing. I want to see where your face will be. Ha! Another Empyrean roamed the city of ancient emperors. When he heard people discussing about Su Qingyao, he couldn't help but mumble, this time around, that supreme crown prince character, how would he deal with the saber-sword immortal king? Interesting. Chapter 1474. The saber-sword immortal king brought Su Qingyao away. Given how beautiful Su Qingyao was, there were people who said that she would definitely be killed by the saber-sword immortal king. Such a supreme beauty was about to be sullied by the saber-sword immortal king. Su Qingyao was such a beauty. Since the saber-sword immortal king dared to abduct her, what else wouldn't he dare to do? This was too tragic. However, this saber-sword immortal king was in for it as well. This time around, it was unknown how many people he would offend. Could it be that he wanted to offend all the immortal kings in the city of ancient emperors? Very swiftly, a voice rang out in the city of ancient emperors, telling the saber-sword immortal king to send Fairy Qingyao back safely. If Fairy Qingyao was treated badly, the saber-sword immortal king would be dismembered into 1,000 pieces. If he was willing to repent and admit his mistakes, sending Fairy Qingyao back before kneeling and begging for her forgiveness, he might be spared from death. This was the saber-sword immortal king's final chance. This voice was extremely tyrannical. To someone like the saber-sword immortal king, ordinary voices wouldn't be able to intimidate him. Only the most direct and tyrannical voice might cause him to hesitate. However, at this moment, Qin Wenyin brought Su Qingyao to a mountain range in the city of ancient emperors. The city of ancient emperors was extremely vast, especially in the third level. It was like a world of its own. On a cliff in the mountain range, Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wenyin walking towards her as her countenance turned pale. She didn't expect that Qin Wenyin would actually abduct her and bring her to such a desolate place. Could it be that he really wanted to do something to her? She simply didn't dare to imagine that such a thing would happen to her. Su Qingyao. If you release me, I can agree to any of your conditions. What do you want in exchange? Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wenyin. I only want Fairy Qingyao to accompany me for 7 days and 7 nights of romance. Qin Wenyin smiled as he walked towards Su Qingyao. Su Qingyao retreated. If you treat me like this, no matter how vast the world is, there's no place for you to hide. Could it be that you have never heard of my name before? The parents of Su Qingyao, are both immortal emperors. If you dare to do such a thing that would incur the wrath of the heavens, they would definitely use all methods to deal with you. Fairy must be joking. I killed Zi Daolong and his father, Zidi, is a peak stage immortal emperor. I don't fear him at all. Why would I care about Fairy Qingyao's parents? Qin Wenyin had an ambiguous smile on his face as he continued walking forward. Su Qingyao retreated again and again. After she was captured, Qin Wenyin sealed her cultivation base. Saber-sword immortal king, why must you be so greedy for a moment of pleasure? For us, cultivators, martial arts is our foundation. Women are nothing but fleeting clouds. Su Qingyao's voice softened as she persuaded. Greedy for a moment of pleasure? Women? Qin Wentian's eyes were deep as he said with a smile, living in this world, one should live to his heart's content. Martial arts can't be neglected, but enjoyment can't be abandoned. He had already walked to Su Qingyao's side. He stretched out his hand and gently wrapped it around her waist as he smiled. Fairy Qingyao, do you think what this seat said is right? Yes. However, in this city of ancient emperors, I have many pursuers and there are even supreme characters among them. The Sunluo Immortal Emperor is an unrivaled character. He is currently at his peak and has many descendants. However, he has already established his inheritance and selected a successor from the various princes and princes. That successor is none other than the unparalleled crown prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. This person is precisely in the city of ancient emperors and has countless followers. Experts are as common as the clouds and his cultivation base is at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. Zi Daolong is like an ant before him, and he has also expressed his interest in pursuing me. Are you threatening me? Qin Wendian pulled Su Qingyao into his embrace. Staring at her beautiful face that was just inches away from him, an evil smile appeared on his face. Release me. Su Qingyao completely lost her composure after being disrespected like this. Her beautiful face turned pale. This saber-sword immortal king's lust was as bold as the heavens. He had no qualms at all. No matter what she said, he wouldn't care. He was simply a madman. If she knew this earlier, she wouldn't have antagonized him. Fairy's beauty is truly pleasing to the eyes. Qin Wenyan smiled as he stared at the beauty that was just inches away from him. After speaking, he released Su Qingyao and walked to the edge of the cliff. He sat down cross-legged and smiled. Fairy, why don't you come over and chat with me? Su Qingyao gritted her teeth. She didn't dare to disobey. She was worried that if she angered him, Qin Wenyan might do something she wouldn't be able to endure. Hence, she could only walk over to Qin Wentian's side. Fairy, there's no need to be so polite. Please take a seat. Qin Wentian spoke. Su Qingyao coldly glanced at Qin Wenyan and sat down beside him. Fairy, have you discovered that even though I'm here, the Emperor's fate behind me is still growing stronger? Qin Wendian asked. Emperor's fate is the fate of the city of ancient emperors. Your name resounds through the city of ancient emperors, and more people know of you. Your fame is growing stronger and stronger, transforming into Emperor's fate. Although you have yet to appear, your fame is still spreading. Su Qingyao replied. So this is the case. What's the use of Emperor's fate then? Qin Wendian smiled. Su Qingyao saw that Qin Wendian no longer continued to tease her. Hence, she was more than happy to answer Qin Wendian. She then continued, there's a rumor that the immortal realms are undergoing a great transformation. The entire era will change, and a brand new era will appear. Immortal kings and emperors will appear, and experts will contend against each other, defeating all the geniuses in the world. Hence, the rules of the city of ancient emperors would naturally change as well. It's rumored that when the emperor's fate reaches a certain level, one would be able to see things that many others can't, coming into contact with the secrets of the city of ancient emperors. Fairy, you said that your parents are both immortal emperors and are extremely famous. I'm sure you know many secrets of the city of ancient emperors. Can you tell me about it? Qin Wendian turned his gaze to Su Qingyao. That smile in his eyes actually caused Su Qingyao to feel a little nervous. She was afraid that this fellow would be attracted by her beauty and would do something uncontrollable. There's a rumor saying that there are Tao elements from other immortal realms in the city of ancient emperors. This matter is extremely important. Hence, immortal kings and emperors would all enter the city of ancient emperors in search of an opportunity to break through. Su Qingyao spoke, her words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash. Indeed, this was the same as what the Black Dragon had said. There were actually Tao elements from other immortal realms in the city of ancient emperors. Fairy, do you know that there's a Black Dragon in the city of ancient emperors who seems to be in control of the laws here? Does he have Tao elements from other immortal realms? Qin Wendian asked. According to the speculations of my parents, the city of ancient emperors is actually a divine weapon, an independent dimension. The rules are set by the controller, and the Black Dragon might be the controller of the rules. But in this independent dimension, there are other Tao elements that exist as well, Qin Wendian mused. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. How many secrets were there in the city of ancient emperors exactly? He closed his eyes and continued to quietly cultivate. Su Qingyao's eyes flashed as she silently retreated. Only when she saw that Qin Wendian didn't obstruct her did she set her heart at ease. 7 days later, Su Qingyao soared into the air and stared at the city before her. Her eyes were filled with a sense of surrealism. She didn't expect that the saber-sword immortal king would let her go so easily, only keeping her for 7 days and nights. During these 7 days, the saber-sword immortal king didn't do anything to her at all. In fact, he didn't even touch her or glance at her. It was like her fairy-like beauty was nothing in his eyes. From the looks of it, everything the saber-sword immortal king did earlier seemed to be a prank, as though he was purposely teasing her or punishing her for her provocation. This fellow, what sort of person is he exactly? Su Qingyao grew even more curious about Qin Wenyin. She was extremely confident in her looks and was indeed as beautiful as a celestial maiden. Her beauty was incomparable and there was no one who didn't praise her, who didn't want to obtain her. But that saber-sword immortal king clearly wasn't afraid of her and didn't mind offending her. If not, he wouldn't have taken advantage of her. But when she thought that she was about to suffer the most terrifying humiliation, that fellow actually didn't touch her at all. This caused Su Qingyao to feel very strange. At the same time, she also started to doubt her own charm. It's Fairy Qingyao. Someone saw Su Qingyao who just appeared. Fairy Qingyao has returned. She has been trapped for 7 days and seems to be more haggard than before. The saber-sword immortal king released her. Numerous gazes landed on Su Qingyao. All of them had a strange look in their eyes when they stared at her. 7 days and 7 nights, talking about romance. The saber-sword immortal king abducted such a supreme beauty. Was it really just for a chat? When Su Qingyao saw the strange look in the eyes of the crowd, coldness flashed in her eyes. She could faintly guess what everyone was thinking as her countenance grew extremely unsightly. She continued forward, encountering more and more people. Although there was still admiration in their eyes, other than that, there was also a hint of lust. In the past, none of them dared to have such a look. This indicated that they all felt that the saber-sword immortal king had done something to her. Fairy Qingyao, are you all right? At this moment, a magnificent character walked over, staring at Su Qingyao as he asked. This was the son of an immortal emperor. His status was extraordinary and his cultivation base was extremely high. I'm fine, the saber-sword immortal king didn't make things difficult for me. Su Qingyao replied. The eyes of the young man flickered, but it didn't escape from Su Qingyao's eyes. You don't believe me? The young man shook his head. You are clearly doubting me. Su Qingyao's voice was cold. Fairy Qingyao, why are you so agitated? The suspicion in the heart of the young man grew. He stared at Su Qingyao. At this moment, Su Qingyao's expression grew even more unsightly to behold. Scram, there's no need for me to explain anything to you. After speaking, she directly departed. That young man stood at his original location. His hands were clenched tightly as his countenance turned ashen. Saber-sword immortal king, I will kill you for sure. His eyes flashed with a terrifying killing intent, further confirming his suspicions. Su Qingyao's reappearance caused all sorts of rumors to spread. Even the crown prince was filled with suspicion. He was infuriated and roared, telling the saber-sword immortal king to scram before him, kneeling and kowtowing, crippling his cultivation base. Only by doing so would he spare the saber-sword immortal king's lowly life. Other than this, many peak stage immortal kings also said that they wanted the saber-sword immortal king to die. For a period of time, the saber-sword immortal king's fame rose even higher. Hence, Qin Wenyin discovered a strange phenomenon. Although he was hated by so many people, the emperor's fate behind him was still growing stronger. As for Su Qingyao, she was cursing Qin Wendian in her heart. This damnable bastard. Her reputation and chastity were ruined just like that. Chapter 1475. After Qin Wendian released Su Qingyao, he departed as well. He wandered aimlessly through the city of ancient emperors, searching for ancient ruins. The boundlessly vast city of ancient emperors was rumored to be an independent world that had a connection to the other immortal realms. There were also rumors saying that now that the era had changed, the rules had changed. In that case, there would definitely be many ancient ruins hidden in the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wenyin roamed the four directions, causing the saber-sword immortal king to vanish without a trace. Hence, there were rumors saying that the saber-sword immortal king had gone into hiding, not daring to show his face. There were also rumors saying that the saber-sword immortal king might have already left the city of ancient emperors. He knew that he had caused a great calamity, hence, he chose to hide from it. Many experts were searching for the saber-sword immortal king, wanting to kill him. Zidi's subordinates also arrived in the city of ancient emperors, searching for traces of the saber-sword immortal king. Right now, it was unknown how many people wanted the saber-sword immortal king's life in the city of ancient emperors. At this moment, Qin Wenyin was currently before a dilapidated ancient hall. The emperor's fate behind him was extremely shocking, seemingly corporeal, enveloping Qin Wenyin, causing him to feel a great amount of fate. His eyes gleamed with a terrifying light as he stared at the dilapidated hall ahead. His eyes seemed to be able to see through all illusions, allowing him to see the appearance of the ancient hall in the past. It was majestic, incomparably ancient, with emperor marks carved on it, containing the will of emperors. When he entered, what Qin Wenyin saw wasn't a dilapidated hall but a complete one instead. There seemed to be traces of battle here as the emperor's will gushed into his eyes, causing him to silently comprehend it. Su Qingyao said that emperor's fate is the fate of the city of ancient emperors. Seems like it's true. If I didn't borrow emperor's fate, I wouldn't be able to see the original appearance of this place. To think that emperor's fate actually has such a miraculous effect. How marvelous! Qin Wenyin mused, feeling a sense of wonder. Although he hadn't been in the city of ancient emperors for a long time, the things he did during the past few battles were extremely influential. Hence, the amount of emperor's fate he collected was extremely high. After comprehending for a long time, Qin Wenyin departed, continuing his journey. Occasionally he would see others like him, searching for ancient ruins in the city of ancient emperors. Today, Qin Wenyin stood in front of an empty piece of land in contemplation. He sat cross-legged and calmed his heart. In his mind, this place wasn't a desolate piece of land. In fact, there was a mountain range in front of him. It was all because of a single sword strike that caused the mountain range to crumble apart. In this place, he could faintly sense the aura of that sword strike. Today, Qin Wenyin came before a mountain. This mountain quietly stood there, looking extremely ordinary. However, under the illumination of his emperor's fate, Qin Wenyin could see that this mountain was trembling unceasingly. Below the mountain, there seemed to be a primordial desolate beast suppressing it, causing rumbling sounds to echo out. This was a wondrous realm that couldn't be seen with one's eyes. One could only sense it with one's emperor's fate. Another day, Qin Wenyin came before a sea. This wasn't the Eastern Sea, it was the sea in the city of ancient emperors. Other than the central city, the surrounding regions seemed to be boundless. Qin Wenyin felt more and more shocked as he ventured deeper. This city of ancient emperors wasn't just a space of its own, it was as vast as an entire world. With his emperor's fate, Qin Wenyin could sense that there was an extremely terrifying power in the sea. There were even faint fluctuations of energy coming from the depths of the sea. However, even with his current emperor's fate, he still felt that he couldn't see through it. Maybe, if his emperor's fate was stronger, he would be able to see even more. Qin Wenyin continued to wander around the city of ancient emperors, gaining many insights. He gradually discovered that there were indeed heaven-shaking secrets in the city of ancient emperors. The Black Dragon said that the era has changed. Su Qingyao also said that the era was different. The rules of the city of ancient emperors were about to change. This caused Qin Wenyin to have a premonition that this time around, a heaven-shaking event would happen in the city of ancient emperors. The appearance of the Tiandao Sacred Academy and the descent of the Demon God Mountain would be the prelude to a new era. After seeing so many mysterious things, Qin Wenyin didn't forget to cultivate. If he had any insights, he would sit down and meditate, silently comprehending and cultivating bitterly. To the current Qin Wenyin, He urgently wanted to raise his strength to the next level. His comprehension of laws, his law domain, how to fuse different attribute energies, and the secrets of the holy will of the Eastern Tomb. All of these required time to comprehend and cultivate, as well as to continuously improve himself. Unknowingly, 2 years have already passed since Qin Wenyan entered the city of ancient emperors. Today, he sat on a mountain peak with his eyes closed. The law energy radiating from him was even stronger compared to 2 years ago. The law light circulating around him grew increasingly resplendent as well. With a wave of his hand, a supreme suppressive might manifested in this space. The heavens and earth rumbled unceasingly as a supreme pagoda appeared, suppressing everything. This translucent pagoda shone with boundless runic light, resembling a grand formation. The pagoda's intent permeated the area, supporting the formation. At this moment, the pagoda rotated as the pagoda's intent descended. Beams of light from the pagoda radiated with destructive might, blasting into the ancient peaks of the mountain range ahead. In just an instant, the ancient peaks were all razed to the ground. This was a pagoda law domain formed with the holy will of the pagoda as the foundation. It was an evolution of the divine elephant's law domain, infusing the pagoda's suppression energy into the pagoda, allowing it to unleash a suppressive might that could suppress the heavens and earth. It was like a prison, countless times stronger compared to the divine elephant's law domain back then. Back then, he had to unleash the pagoda's holy will in order to unleash its full power. But now, with a single thought of his, he could summon the pagoda's holy will. Other than this, Qin Wenyan also comprehended several powerful abilities. Using his comprehension abilities and some of the insights he gained back then, he created some extraordinary innate techniques that were extremely powerful. He didn't unleash them one by one. After comprehending so many different types of energy, he wouldn't feel too restricted in combat. After all, it was best not to use some of the abilities he gained in the past in case others recognized him. The law energy vanished as the surroundings returned to normal. Qin Wenyan stood up and with a flash of his silhouette, he left this place. During these 2 years, many great changes occurred in the city of ancient emperors. Even more experts from the immortal realms arrived, as well as greater demons from the desolate mountains. Right now, there were even rumors in the outside world saying that the city of ancient emperors would undergo a great transformation. Maybe, a stroke of good fortune would appear in the city of ancient emperors, similar to the era of ancient emperors. Hence, even more experts came to the city of ancient emperors. At this moment, in a certain location, several geniuses were sitting together, discussing the changes in the city of ancient emperors as well as the path of cultivation. Right now, in the city of ancient emperors, the emperor's fate at the peak of the immortal king realm can transform into true dragons and ancient phoenixes, taking on a corporeal form. They can see many ancient ruins and use them to cultivate, growing stronger and stronger. Most probably, they would have a chance to break through to the immortal emperor realm sooner or later, and in the future, they would even have a chance to fight for a supreme position. That's right, the laws in the city of ancient emperors have changed, giving birth to many ancient ruins and secret realms. However, only those with emperor's fate can enter them. The stronger the expert, the further the disparity between them. Other than those characters standing at the peak, I wonder if there are any others with extraordinary potential. Fairy Qingyao, it's rumored that the Supreme Crown Prince is deeply in love with you. Do you know how strong he is exactly? Someone glanced at Su Qingyao and asked. The gazes of the crowd all landed on her. Su Qingyao was a supreme beauty and had outstanding talent. There were many people who liked to talk about her. I'm not sure. Su Qingyao calmly replied, her expression cold. Speaking of this, I suddenly thought of a person. That crown prince wanted him to kneel and beg for mercy, only then would he be spared from death. Up until now, he still hasn't appeared. Most probably, he has already left the city of ancient emperors. Back then, Fairy Qingyao was once held hostage by him. I wonder if you know anything about him? A female smiled as she asked Su Qingyao. A moment later, many people had strange looks in their eyes. This female wanted to expose Su Qingyao's shortcomings. That matter 2 years ago was a stain on Su Qingyao's reputation. Even now, there were still many people who felt that Fairy Qingyao had been tainted. This female immortal king was none other than the admirer of that crown prince. The hearts of everyone were as clear as a mirror. Seems like this female immortal king was doing this intentionally. And as expected, Su Qingyao's expression changed. She coldly spoke. "He's very strong, it's extremely easy for me to kill you." "Is that so? Fairy Qingyao is praising him so highly? Why did he flee with his tail between his legs like a stray dog? Right now, there are so many people in the city of ancient emperors who want to kill him. Could it be that Fairy Qingyao has feelings for him?" That female immortal king was also extremely beautiful, and her cultivation base was the same as Su Qingyao. Her words were even more brazen, causing Su Qingyao's expression to turn increasingly unsightly. The rumors back then might not be true. If he didn't flee like a stray dog, I would definitely kill him if I encountered him. A young man who was in love with Chu Qingyi coldly spoke. His cultivation base was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. I feel the same way as well. Everyone in the world loves to spread rumors, exaggerating things further and further. A stray dog like him isn't even worth mentioning. If he dares to appear in the city of ancient emperors again, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to survive for much longer. The female immortal king laughed. There should be experts from the major powers he killed here, right? What do you all think? This old man came to the city of ancient emperors when he already fled. If not, how could he still be alive? An old immortal king from the Taihua immortal dynasty spoke. His aura was majestic, exuding a terrifying might. Sadly, he fled too quickly. A peak-stage immortal king from the Supreme Sword School calmly spoke. 2 years ago, during the chaos in the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wenyan had offended too many experts, and all of them were from major powers. Is this true? Are all of you so imposing? A voice drifted over. Everyone started as their eyes flashed. After that, they inclined their heads and stared in the direction of the voice. After that, their eyes all froze. Over there, an expert could be seen walking over with a sword and saber strapped to his back. This was the insignia of the saber sword immortal king. Upon seeing that figure, Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes froze. After that, she gritted her teeth. This bastard actually still dared to appear? This audacious bastard has never left the city of ancient emperors before. Everyone, how majestic and imposing. You are all very similar to those people in the past. All of you have no one in their eyes. Where are they now? Qin Wenyan had a smile on his face, exuding an evil charm. The eyes of everyone narrowed. What an arrogant fellow. He was actually the saber sword immortal king. He actually dared to appear and even provoke them in public. I'm right here. Who wants to kill me? Qin Wenyan swept his gaze over everyone as he spoke, ignoring all the immortal kings here. Chapter 1476. The geniuses here all stared at Qin Wenyan. Many of them radiated coldness, radiating an intense killing intent. Arrogant, this saber-sword immortal king was simply too arrogant. He actually appeared before everyone just like that and smiled at them. Who wants to kill me? Did he think that the people here wouldn't be able to kill him? Although his combat prowess was unparalleled and he was strong enough to kill Zi Daolong, the experts here were as many as the clouds. There were even late-stage peak-stage immortal kings among them who were at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. Qin Wenyan was merely a mid-stage immortal king, yet he actually dared to stand here, putting everyone in his eyes. You still dare to appear in the city of ancient emperors? A cold voice rang out. A young-looking peak-stage immortal king stood up. His fists were clenched as his eyes pierced through space, staring straight at Qin Wenyan. Who the hell are you? Are you even qualified to speak to me? Qin Wenyan domineeringly spoke. That peak-stage immortal king's aura towered up into the sky as he coldly laughed. Fine. Today, I shall take revenge for Fairy Qingyao. His life is mine. Another voice rang out. The person who spoke was none other than the old immortal king from the Taihua immortal dynasty. His aura was majestic and heavy, terrifying to the extreme. It doesn't matter who comes to kill him. As long as he appears here today, he has to die. An immortal king from the Supreme Sword School radiated a terrifying sword intent as he stared at Qin Wenyin. Who will go and kill this saber-sword immortal king? A supreme immortal king from the 9 emperors' immortal state coldly spoke. Back then, Qin Wenyin killed 5 immortal kings from the 9 emperors' immortal state in a single battle. This matter was simply a humiliation to the 9 emperors' immortal state. Voices rang out unceasingly, all of them wanting to kill the saber-sword immortal king. This caused expressions of interest to appear on the faces of the spectators. For those who came to the city of ancient emperors later, their interest grew even more intense. This fellow actually attracted so much hatred in the city of ancient emperors. But when they heard his words, it was truly infuriating. Just a few sentences from him was enough to ignite the hatred of so many experts. Is that all? Earlier, weren't there a lot of people who said that I didn't deserve my reputation and that they could easily kill me? In fact, there were quite a few of them. Now that I'm standing here, why aren't you speaking? You can come and kill me now. Qin Wenyin swept his gaze over everyone, pausing for a moment on the immortal kings who said they wanted to kill him, including that female immortal king who stood against Su Qinyao. For a filthy person like you, killing you would only dirty my hands. That female immortal king was still as arrogant as ever, exuding a transcendent aura, noble and beautiful. Dirty? Qin Wenyan's eyes were sharp. As an immortal king, you actually have no sense of shame, insulting Fairy Qinyao. Is that not dirty enough? That female immortal king's eyes were cold. Even as she belittled Qin Wenyin, she didn't forget to insult Su Qinyao. Haha, back then Su Qinyao wanted to spar with me, agreeing to accompany me for 7 days if she lost. Many people witnessed this, and after that, I brought Fairy Qinyao away for 7 days. What's wrong with that? How can you say that I'm dirty? As for those whose minds are filled with filthy thoughts, they are the truly dirty ones. Qin Wenyin mocked, clearly referring to this female immortal king. How dare you? That female immortal king glared at Qin Wenyin in anger. Rumble! Qin Wenyan's eyes suddenly gleamed with sharpness. In an instant, a terrifying sword intent pierced through the shadow, slashing through everything. That female immortal king screamed in pain as her eyes bled. She used both her hands to protect her eyes as she screamed in agony. Rumble! The experts in the surroundings all retreated as they stared in shock at this scene. This female immortal king was a mid-stage immortal king, yet she was actually blinded by a single glance from the saber-sword immortal king? Wasn't this too terrifying? How powerful was this saber-sword immortal king exactly? Even his gaze can kill. What technique is this? The hearts of everyone were incomparably shocked as they stared at Qin Wenyin. Am I being impudent? Qin Wenyin laughed uproariously. There are many people here who have a grudge with me. There's nothing wrong with them wanting to kill me. But who the hell do you think you are? You even dare to speak nonsense here, insulting me as a stray dog? For a despicable person like you to speak behind my back, I'll blind your eyes. You better scram back and reflect on your actions. Qin Wenyan's voice was extremely tyrannical, completely ignoring everything. He blinded the female immortal king with a single glance, telling her to go back and reflect on her actions. Arg! The female immortal king screamed in pain and anger. She cultivated to the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, and it was extremely difficult for her. Yet just because of a few words, she was blinded. How could this saber-sword immortal king be so terrifying? She didn't dare to retort. Although her eyes were blinded, her strength was still there. If she continued to speak nonsense, the saber-sword immortal king might just kill her directly. I curse you to be sliced into 1,000 pieces. The female immortal king cursed at Qin Wenyin in her heart. There were many experts here and all of them wanted to kill Qin Wenyin. She didn't want him to die too quickly. So this is the saber-sword immortal king. Seems like back then when he killed Zi Daolong and caused chaos to the various peak powers, his strength wasn't just for show. Someone mused silently, feeling shocked. blinding a mid-stage immortal king with a single glance. This was simply too terrifying. Qin Wenqian's sharp eyes swept over. Those who insulted Qin Wenyan earlier all turned their gazes away, as though they were afraid that Qin Wenyan would take revenge and didn't dare to look him in the eye. Earlier, didn't many people say that I'm a stray dog that fled the city of ancient emperors? Didn't you all say that you could easily kill me? Now, why are you all still not coming out to kill me? Qin Wenyan arrogantly spoke, disregarding everything in his eyes. His eyes turned to a young-looking immortal king, but in truth, this immortal king had already cultivated for many years and his cultivation base was extremely terrifying. He was a peak-stage immortal king and was also one of Su Qingyao's admirers. Before this, he called Qin Wenyan a stray dog, and if he encountered Qin Wenyan, he would definitely kill him. When that person saw Qin Wenyan looking at him, he knew that a battle was unavoidable. However, after personally witnessing Qin Wenqian's might, as well as Qin Wenqian's insufferably arrogant attitude, he was no longer as confident as before. Everyone, this man simply doesn't have us in his eyes at all. Let's kill him directly in case he plans to escape. For such a despicable character, all the heroes in the city of ancient emperors should kill him together. That immortal king spoke righteously, wanting everyone to kill Qin Wenyan. Ha, what a shameless immortal king. Before this, you were so full of yourself, as though I would die for sure if I stood in front of you. Now, you are trying to instigate so many immortal kings to gang up on me, yet you still speak in such a righteous manner? Do you still have any face left? Qin Wenyan laughed maniacally. He took a step forward, moving with lightning speed towards that peak-stage immortal king. His eyes were like sharp swords, able to penetrate everything. In the center of his brows, a third eye could be seen. He laughed, "Let me show you the power of this seat's sword-eye domain." As the sound of his voice faded, his eyes gleamed with a terrifying sword intent. That peak-stage immortal king only felt the sword intent gushing over. He hurriedly retreated, only to see the space around him transforming into a sword-eye domain that was akin to a vortex of swords, terrifying to the extreme. Boom. That peak-stage immortal king felt his law energy circulating frenziedly. His body of laws was extremely terrifying, capable of destroying everything. His heart was filled with shock. With a single glance from Qin Wenyan, he was able to create a law domain, causing him to sink into the dimension of his eyes. Within that dimension, a terrifying sword intent gushed towards him unceasingly. Can you block it? Qin Wenyan roared. Within the sword-eye domain, destructive sword might gushed forth. Abruptly, Qin Wenyan's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. In just an instant, the sword intent of a sage gushed into his opponent's mind. That peak-stage immortal king only felt a supreme sword slashing towards him, unable to block it at all. Trash! Qin Wenyan roared. Within the sword-eye domain, that peak-stage immortal king was directly slain, dying a miserable death. Everyone was shocked as they stared at that supreme silhouette. They only saw Qin Wenyan standing there with his hands behind his back. His sword and saber were still sheathed, and just his law domain alone was enough to kill a peak-stage immortal king. He was like a heavenly god descending to the mortal world. For characters at the immortal king level, their hearts were naturally filled with arrogance and conceit. They wouldn't easily feel that they were inferior to others. Although the saber-sword immortal king was rumored to be extremely powerful, there were still many powerful immortal kings who weren't convinced. However, at this moment, when the saber-sword immortal king truly appeared, they discovered to their shock that the rumors weren't exaggerated at all. In fact, the saber-sword immortal king who appeared before them basically wasn't terrifying at all. This saber-sword immortal king was far stronger than they had imagined. No wonder he dared to come here alone and was still so arrogant despite facing so many immortal kings, not putting them in his eyes at all. Those experts who wanted to kill Qin Wenyan earlier all had heavy expressions on their faces. Seems like the person they wanted to kill was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Was this the reason why Qin Wenyan was so fearless and unbridled? Was this the reason why he dared to kill so many people in the city of ancient emperors? The Supreme Sword School, the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the other peak powers, none of them could enter his eyes. Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wenyan as great waves rose in her heart. Although she had a noble background and had seen countless geniuses before, she had never seen anyone as brazen as this man before her. A mid-stage immortal king actually rushed into the crowd of peak-stage immortal kings and directly started a massacre. There were over 10 people here that he wanted to kill. This man was lawless and out of control. Most probably, there was nothing in his eyes at all. No wonder he dared to take advantage of her and abduct her away. Those immortal kings who hated Qin Wenyan didn't act immediately. They were silently transmitting their voices to each other, discussing how they should kill Qin Wenyan. This saber-sword immortal king's strength was terrifying. He could kill Zi Daolong and easily kill initial phase peak stage immortal kings. His combat prowess should be comparable to ordinary late phase peak stage immortal kings. If they fought against him alone, none of them here had absolute confidence that they could kill Qin Wenyan. Why are you all still not acting? Are you guys discussing how to kill me? Qin Wenyan coldly laughed when he saw their silence. There's no need to care about face. Just come at me together. It's not like I don't know how shameless you guys are. Why is there a need to consider for so long? Everyone he is seeking death. Let's just kill him. There's no need to waste too much time. If he kills some of us, it wouldn't be worth it. One of the immortal kings spoke. Chapter 1477. Qin Wenyan turned his gaze over, staring at the immortal king who just spoke. His demonic eyes flashed with coldness as a sharp sword intent shot out from his eyes, penetrating into the eyes of the immortal king who just spoke. That immortal king screamed in agony as blood seeped out of his eyes as his entire body trembled. It's naturally not a problem if you want to kill me, but you have to think carefully before you act. Qin Wenyan waved his hand, slashing out gently. However, a terrifying beam of sword light flashed through the air, directly slicing through the body of the mid-stage immortal king who just spoke. Several experts rushed over, but Qin Wenyan only left a corpse for them. Qin Wenyan's actions were too fast. With a single glance, with a wave of his hand, he killed. He was simply as terrifying as a devil god, invincible. Those immortal kings stared at Qin Wenyan in rage, their eyes gleaming with blood-colored killing intent, terrifying to the extreme. What about me? I'm the one who told you all to gang up on me. But could it be that I can't kill those who want to gang up on me? Do you think I'm a fool? Qin Wenyan snorted. He took a step forward as his sword eye law domain expanded outwards, instantly enveloping this entire space. Hurry up and act. If we don't act now, we will be defeated one by one. Those immortal kings roared. The others exchanged glances. Qin Wenyan earlier said that he would act only after he thought carefully. For those who wanted to kill him, he would definitely kill them. If they couldn't kill him, they would die for sure. The peak stage immortal king from the Supreme Sword School spoke. A moment later, numerous supreme swords appeared in the air as a towering sword domain appeared, enveloping Qin Wenyan within. Numerous gigantic swords descended from the sky, piercing through space, directly surrounding Qin Wenyan. This entire space transformed into an incomparably terrifying sword formation diagram, trapping Qin Wenyan within it. Numerous sharp swords descended from the sky, slicing through space as they shot towards Qin Wenyan. Their Supreme Sword School was already mortal enemies with the Saber Sword Immortal King. They naturally had to kill him. They were all Supreme Immortal Kings. How decisive were they? With a single command, everyone instantly acted, setting up a sword domain formation, wanting to kill Qin Wenyan here. Do it. The old man from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty also spoke. Several immortal kings attacked, and in an instant, an even more violent wave of attacks gushed towards Qin Wenyan. Numerous terrifying royal imprints descended from the sky, each of them containing boundless might and indomitable might. All of them blasted towards Qin Wenyan. The Saber Sword Immortal King, how should he deal with his opponent? Everyone stared at the battlefield. The saber-sword immortal king was in the middle of a terrifying sword formation diagram. Tens of thousands of swords slashed down from the sky as many royal imprints shot down from the sky. Although the saber-sword immortal king was extremely powerful, many people were worried for him right now. However, since he dared to kill his way here and challenged so many major powers, he definitely didn't come here to throw his life away. Only to see that at this moment, before the gazes of everyone, the saber-sword immortal king's body shone with a dazzling light. His body grew incomparably large, transforming into a terrifying giant, causing many spectators to retreat in fear, wanting to avoid being affected by the shockwaves. At this instant, the gigantic body of the saber-sword immortal king seemed to be enveloped by a terrifying grand formation. Millions of runic inscriptions formed an indestructible body as God's hand circulated within it. In the eyes of everyone, the saber-sword immortal king's body of laws was as dazzling as an indestructible divine body. What a powerful body of laws! Has he cultivated his body to the pinnacle? Even for body refiners, it's impossible for their bodies to be so tyrannical, right? His body is like a grand formation, like a supreme divine body. Qin Wentian's body was naturally powerful. Ever since he was young, he had been refining his body. After that, he underwent the fiend god body refinement art, the tempering of his bloodline, the tempering of God's hand, and the Vajra holy will. Right now, the strength of his body of laws was simply unimaginable. Many experts drew in a breath of cold air. This was too shocking. When Qin Wentian's body grew larger, they could clearly see how terrifying his body of laws was. It didn't seem like the body of a human, it was more like a grand formation, an indestructible divine weapon. When the shockingly sharp swords slashed down, the terrifying sword diagrams tore at his body, and the insufferably arrogant seals slammed into his body, the sound of an ancient bell ringing could be heard. The strength of this body of laws was comparable to the peerless greater demons of the desolate mountains. Those who have nothing to do with this, retreat. A thunderous roar rang out. The peak stage immortal kings from the Taihua immortal dynasty had long retreated far away. Seems like this battle was about to erupt with heaven-shaking might, engulfing this entire space. As expected, an even stronger sword domain and sword formation manifested. The sword formation diagram on the ground transformed frenziedly, expanding outwards, enveloping this entire space. The experts from the Taihua immortal dynasty all condensed royal law imprints. Each imprint was as large as a meteor, capable of suppressing the heavens and earth, destroying the void. So many peak powers here. Could it be that you only have this little bit of strength? You can't even bring out a decent law domain? Qin Wenyan laughed maniacally. His body grew to a size of over 10 million meters, causing the entire space to tremble. The experts from afar all felt their bodies trembling, feeling incomparably shocked in their hearts. This saber-sword immortal king was simply too powerful, mocking all the peak powers here as trash. Before this, when I killed those ant-like immortal kings of yours, I didn't even need to unleash my law domain. Since you guys only have this little bit of strength, I will let you all broaden your horizons today. Take a look at this seat's law domain. Qin Wenyan laughed uproariously, exuding boundless arrogance. As the sound of his voice faded, his law domain manifested. The pagoda prison law domain manifested together with the rumbling sounds of the pagoda. In this boundlessly vast space, a pagoda prison appeared, imprisoning this entire space, suppressing everything. Within the pagoda prison, a heaven-shaking suppressive might cause those mid-stage immortal kings to directly lie on the ground, finding it hard to straighten their backs. The pagoda prison law domain shimmered with a towering runic light, resembling a heaven-shaking grand formation. His law domain was infused with God's hand, the holy will of the Eastern Tomb, as well as many other attribute energies. Each of these energies were extremely rare and were naturally incomparably powerful. Even for the geniuses of the peak powers here, it was impossible for them to be mentioned in the same breath as him. There's an ancient saying, if you can comprehend the Tao in the morning, you can die in the evening. Today, this seat will let all of you see what the Tao is, what an immortal king is. You guys can go and die now. Qin Wentian's voice thundered through the air. As the sound of his voice faded, the pagoda law domain radiated with a terrifying pagoda might. The light from the pagoda circulated around the area as the might of the pagoda manifested. A beam of light directly blasted into a mid-stage immortal king, penetrating through his body. That immortal king groaned in misery as he coughed out fresh blood. His internal organs were all shattered as he collapsed to the ground, dead. Everyone was incomparably shocked. They simply didn't dare to believe the scene before their eyes. This was too shocking. They were all immortal kings, but how could the saber-sword immortal king, who was at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, be so powerful to this extent? He was simply invincible. The emperor's fate behind him soared up, growing more and more resplendent as it absorbed the luck from the city of ancient emperors. Within the pagoda prison law domain, many immortal kings were filled with despair. They had no way to imagine how powerful this was. When the destructive pagoda will bore down on them, they all had expressions of terror on their faces. As the rumbling sounds rang out, those below the peak stage of the immortal king realm all died one after another, unable to withstand a single strike. For those at the same level as Qin Wenin, none of them could withstand the attacks from Qin Wentian's law domain. Even for initial phase peak stage immortal kings, they were all bitterly enduring, coughing out blood from the attacks. Qin Wenin turned his gaze to the immortal kings in the pagoda prison as his expression was cold to the extreme. Since these people wanted to kill him, he would just kill them. As long as they don't offend him, he wouldn't take the initiative to create trouble. However, when others wanted to kill him, he wouldn't show mercy. As a hero who cultivated to the peak stage of the mid-stage immortal king realm, how could he still have the heart of cowardice? He could only press forward and annihilate all his enemies. With a wave of his hand, a sharp sword was unsheathed, directly slashing towards an initial phase peak stage immortal king below. That immortal king was still resisting the pagoda prison's law energy. When the sword intent bore down on him, he had no way to block it and was directly slain. With a scream of agony, his eyes filled with despair stared at Qin Wenin, as though he was unwilling to die. Qin Wenin waved his sword, causing sword qi to pierce through the heavens and earth. He was like a god of destruction. Who could obstruct him? Su Qingyao's heartbeat quickened, feeling incomparably shocked. She knew that Qin Wenin was strong, but she didn't expect him to be this strong. So strong to the point where it caused despair in others. Let alone mid-stage immortal kings, even many peak-stage immortal kings felt despair. If he broke through to the peak stage, who would be able to obstruct him? Would those people be able to obstruct him? This saber-sword immortal king was someone who could contend against the most outstanding geniuses in the city of ancient emperors for luck. Maybe he had the qualifications to break through to that level, becoming one of the most dazzling characters of this era. Naturally, the prerequisite was that he had to be alive first. After offending so many experts, no matter how strong he was, would he be able to survive? Su Qingyao felt some doubts. I'm inferior to him, I won't be able to catch up to him in this lifetime. An expert sighed. Before this, he was also bragging here, saying that he wanted to kill the saber-sword immortal king. But now, how ironic was that? If the saber-sword immortal king wanted to kill him, it would be as simple as killing an ant. When he thought of this, he glanced at Su Qingyao before turning and departing the area. He was worried that Qin Wenin would find him for revenge. Many people had the same thoughts as this immortal king. Not long ago when they were discussing the Tao, all of them were extremely arrogant. But now, just a moment after the battle erupted, Qin Wentian's absolute combat prowess caused them to feel a sense of helplessness. Killing the saber-sword immortal king? They weren't even qualified to carry the shoes of the saber-sword immortal king. Many people who wanted to kill the saber-sword immortal king all shut up. In fact, there were even some who silently departed. Maybe they felt that they had no face to remain here, or maybe they felt that if they stayed here, Qin Wenin would take revenge on them because of what they said earlier. At the same time when they left, many more immortal kings rushed over here to witness this shocking battle. The saber-sword immortal king's unparalleled might. The shadow of the human emperor was almost corporeal, like the dharma body of a peak-level immortal king of the 9 emperors' immortal state. The unparalleled fist light pierced through the heavens and earth, striking towards Qin Wenyin. In the end, the remaining 2 strongest immortal kings transformed into giants just like Qin Wenyin. They bombarded each other from the front and back. They wanted to kill Qin Wenyin at all costs. If Qin Wenyin didn't die, then they would. Are you ashamed? Qin Wenyin roared. A gigantic palm imprint blasted out, transforming into a sky-blotting devil palm that shattered everything, blasting towards the 2 late-stage peak-stage immortal kings. The pagoda law domain continued to rain down unceasingly, suppressing the 2 of them. The destructive might of the pagoda blasted towards them. The 2 peak-stage immortal kings had no choice but to use their full strength to defend. If their cultivation bases were lower, they would have already died like the others. 10,000 Seals Law Domain. The immortal king of the Taihua immortal dynasty roared. His law domain radiated an even brighter light, causing heaven-shaking imprints to appear in all directions, radiating a fearsome aura. Old fellow, it's useless. Your weak law domain is completely useless before this seat. Qin Wenyin calmly spoke. The pagoda will bore down on the imprints, shattering them unceasingly. He stepped out and spoke arrogantly, I won't play with you anymore. This seat will send you on your way. As the sound of his voice faded, a terrifying lightning sword intent shot out from his eyes, penetrating through space, directly arriving before the old man. That old man was long prepared for this. He protected himself with his laws and Emperor Qi, but the sword intent couldn't penetrate through his defenses. A demonic smile flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes. The sword in his hand was like a torrential river of swords, gushing forth ferociously, wanting to destroy everything. At this instant, the old man only felt an illusion appearing in front of him, as though he was about to fall into a dreamscape. Not good. As expected of a peak-stage immortal king, his will was extremely strong. He instantly sensed that something was wrong and struggled free. His sword intent slashed out, wanting to destroy everything. With a thunderous roar, he unleashed his might, but at this instant he only saw the cold eyes of Qin Wenyin shooting out beams of illusory light. In just an instant, the old man's body trembled violently as a terrifying scene appeared in his mind. Qin Wenyin wielded an ancient halberd and directly pierced towards his mind. Soul attack. The old man's heart pounded violently. Was this saber-sword immortal king still human? He had cultivated his strength to such a terrifying extent, and he actually cultivated soul attacks as well. The stronger one's cultivation base was, the stronger their soul attacks would be. But at this moment, this peak-stage immortal king felt his heart trembling. He felt that the god of death was closing in on him. Go to hell! A thunderous roar that seemed to originate from his soul, and also from the external world, rang out. When he saw Qin Wentian's ancient halberd piercing towards his soul, he involuntarily tightened his defense. With a piercing sound, before his soul could even be penetrated, Qin Wentian's sword intent penetrated through everything, piercing into his mind. A late-stage peak-stage immortal king was slain. Everything happened in an extremely short period of time. During this period of time, the peak-stage immortal king of the 9 emperors' immortal state naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He slashed out with a terrifying human emperor sword, slashing down on Qin Wentian's indestructible body. The Vajra Holy Will radiated a terrifying might, slashing apart the runes in the air. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's body radiated a fearsome defensive barrier that shone with a blood-colored light. This caused the human emperor sword to be unable to kill Qin Wenyin. It only managed to injure Qin Wenyin, leaving behind a bloody wound on his indestructible body. This was the first time Qin Wenyin was injured since the start of the battle. However, this injury caused many to draw in a cold breath as they stared at Qin Wenyin. That was an attack from a late-stage peak-stage immortal king, yet it only injured him and didn't kill him. Was this really the defense of a mid-stage immortal king? Was he wearing some kind of powerful defensive divine weapon? Their guesses weren't wrong. Qin Wenyin was indeed wearing a defensive divine weapon, one that was forged in the Eastern Tomb Immortal City. If it wasn't for this defensive divine weapon, his injuries would have been even more severe. After all, the attack of a late-stage peak-stage immortal king was extremely powerful. However, this defensive divine weapon didn't have much of an effect on Qin Wentian's defense. The reason why his defense was so strong was because of the Vajra indestructible body. That was akin to a Vajra grand formation that was infused with God's hand and the Vajra holy will. How strong was his defense exactly? Ordinary immortal kings wouldn't even dare to imagine it. That peak-stage immortal king from the 9 Emperors' immortal state was also stunned. He didn't expect that such an attack would only injure Qin Wenyan. When Qin Wenyan killed the Taihua Immortal Dynasty's peak-stage immortal king, his heart pounded violently as he actually retreated backwards. It was like he knew that it was impossible for him to win against this demon-level genius. It was useless even if he was a level higher than him. Oh no, he has already lost his battle intent. How would he be able to fight against a character like the Saber-Sword Immortal King? Everyone sighed. Even 2 late-stage peak-stage immortal kings were useless, unable to defeat Qin Wenyan. In fact, this peak-stage immortal king from the 9 Emperors' immortal state was actually preparing to flee. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying the Saber-Sword Immortal King was. And as expected, things were just like what the spectators expected. Since he had lost his battle intent, how would he be able to fight against Qin Wenyan? Let alone the fact that he was still trapped within Qin Wenyan's law domain. Not long after, that peak-stage immortal king from the 9 Emperors' immortal state was heavily injured. Qin Wenyan clenched his fist, grabbing the head of that peak-stage immortal king as he laughed maniacally. "You all want to kill me? Can you do it?" As he spoke, he clenched his fist. With a thunderous boom, another peak-stage immortal king died miserably. Upon seeing this scene, the hearts of many couldn't help but tremble. Among the spectators, there were even experts from the peak powers who were killed. But at this moment, none of them dared to step out. If they stepped out, only death would await them. They had to find the most powerful experts from their respective sects in the city of ancient emperors to kill this saber-sword immortal king. "Is there anyone else who wants to kill me?" After Qin Wenyan killed all the experts who were fighting against him, he stared at the crowd as he asked. No one dared to reply. The emperor's fate behind him grew more and more terrifying. This time, Qin Wenyan returned in such a domineering manner. His main purpose was to gain emperor's fate. He wanted to gain the faith of everyone, causing the people in the city of ancient emperors to respect and fear him. By doing so, his emperor's fate would continue to grow stronger and stronger. Emperor's fate was also known as fate. Only when his luck was strong would he be able to pry into the secrets of the city of ancient emperors. In the future, if there are still people who want to kill me, feel free to speak up. Qin Wenyan spoke in arrogance. His body returned to its normal size and with a flash, he soared through the air, leaving this place. Who? He left. This saber-sword immortal king is too terrifying. Yeah, for such a character, only the most demon-level geniuses in the city of ancient emperors would be able to kill him. Most probably, there are some people who want to act against him. Su Qingyao was speechless as she stared at his vanishing figure. Before he came here, many people doubted him and wanted to kill him. Their reasons were all different. There were major powers who wanted revenge, there were those who admired him, and there were also those who wanted Emperor's fate. But now, who would still dare to have such thoughts? The news of the battle soon circulated. Those people who boasted shamelessly about wanting to kill the saber-sword immortal king all fell silent, no longer daring to speak recklessly. They were afraid that they might invite a calamity upon themselves. In that battle, the saber-sword immortal king's achievements were simply too glorious. Who wouldn't fear him? At this moment, another voice rang out in the city of ancient emperors, tyrannical to the extreme. That crown prince character spoke. If the saber-sword immortal king still didn't kneel and beg for mercy, he would personally act and cripple the saber-sword immortal king's cultivation, allowing his enemies to torture him to death. As this voice rang out, many people sighed in admiration. As expected of the crown prince, he was as tyrannical as ever. No matter how powerful the saber-sword immortal king was, he didn't even have the qualifications to be arrogant before him. Chapter 1479. Qin Wendian vanished once more. This time around, the main reason why he came out was because he felt that his emperor's fate wasn't strong enough. Hence, he forcefully barged into the city of ancient emperors and initiated a glorious battle, causing his emperor's fate to grow even stronger. After this battle, he directly departed, heading towards the boundlessly vast city of ancient emperors in search of good fortune. Emperor's fate was fate. The stronger one's fate was, the more good fortune one would be able to see. Qin Wendian could already confirm this point. This time around, his emperor's fate grew even stronger. He had already visited some of the mysterious places in the city of ancient emperors and was able to see more secrets than before. As for the words of the crown prince, although he had heard of it before, he didn't really care about it. At his current cultivation realm, his state of heart was extremely extraordinary. How could he be angered by a single word from others? In addition, it was rumored that the crown prince was a character who stood at the peak of the immortal king realm in the city of ancient emperors. His cultivation base was also at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. Even if what the crown prince said was true and he could defeat Qin Wendian, what did that mean? What he wanted to do now was to increase his strength. When he reached the peak stage of the immortal king realm, he believed that he would be able to sweep through all the immortal kings in the city of ancient emperors. At that time, all the emperor's fate in the city of ancient emperors would belong to him. However, raising one's strength wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. This was especially so for those who have cultivated to Qin Wendian's current cultivation realm. For some people, they might not be able to break through even after thousands or tens of thousands of years. Although the era had changed, with many shocking characters appearing and the fate of the entire immortal realms changing, if he didn't have any great good fortune, he wouldn't be able to break through to the peak stage of the immortal king realm in a short period of time. And for such good fortune, Qin Wendian naturally hoped that he would be able to find it in the city of ancient emperors. Not only for him, those famous characters in the city of ancient emperors were also searching for good fortune here. Their names resounded through the city of ancient emperors, and their emperor's fate was extremely dense. They could manifest corporeal forms and knew a lot more. Naturally, they had to search for good fortune of their own. Hence, in the city of ancient emperors, the saber-sword immortal king's whereabouts were as elusive as a dragon's head. However, a group of people who wanted to hunt him down naturally included Zidi and a peak-stage immortal king prince from the Nine Emperors' immortal state. His strength was extremely shocking, and the saber-sword immortal king killed many immortal kings from his Nine Emperors' immortal state. He naturally had to take revenge for this. There was also that crown prince character. His command had no effect on Qin Wendian. The saber-sword immortal king directly vanished, causing his words to be like a fart. He was enraged and immediately gave the order to search for the saber-sword immortal king. However, how could he find the saber-sword immortal king? At this moment, Qin Wendian arrived before a mountain. He came here once before and felt that this mountain was extremely mystical. Under the augmentation of Emperor's fate, he could see through the mysteries, but he had no way to see through them completely. This time, he came here again. His Emperor's fate flourished. His eyes became even more terrifying, as though they were shining with golden runic light. In an instant, the heavens and earth changed. This entire space seemed to have changed. In the desolate mountain range, immortal palaces, pavilions, and pavilions appeared. There was even the sound of flowing water flowing down from the mountains. There was even a waterfall cascading down. Qin Wendian's heart trembled. How could this be? There were actually two completely different types of spatial illusions. Is this an illusory technique? Isn't this a little too realistic? Qin Wendian silently mused. He observed the space as he slowly stepped out. The melody of a zither rang out. It was extremely melodious. He couldn't help but to walk in the direction of the melody. In front of a pavilion with flowing water, a middle-aged man with long black hair could be seen playing the zither. At this moment, that middle-aged man inclined his head and stared at Qin Wendian. In just an instant, Qin Wentian's eyes seemed to be pierced through as he fell into a void. In this desolate space, only that middle-aged man stood there. "Who are you?" An ethereal voice drifted over. It was unknown where it originated from. Qin Wentian wanted to struggle free, but he discovered that he had no idea where to start. This illusory technique was simply too tyrannical, causing him to fall into a trance with a single glance. It was simply too terrifying. "This one is the saber-sword immortal king." Qin Wentian spoke. "You lied to me. You are wearing a mask on your face, hiding your identity. What do you mean by that?" That voice rang out once more. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. He didn't expect that the middle-aged man would be able to see through him with a single glance. Qin Wentian removed his mask, revealing his true features. "I'm Qin Wentian. Because I have too many enemies, I have to hide my identity. I hope that Senior won't blame me." As the sound of his voice faded, the scene earlier vanished. He once again returned to that beautiful illusory scene. The middle-aged man before him had long hair that draped over his shoulders, exuding a carefree aura. His eyes gleamed with sharpness, exuding a fearsome might. It was unknown how many terrifying characters he was. Given Senior's cultivation base, why would you be in the city of ancient emperors? Qin Wentian was slightly startled. You basically have no idea what sort of place the city of ancient emperors is, right? The middle-aged man inclined his head, his black eyes staring at Qin Wentian as he emotionlessly spoke. Junior heard that the city of ancient emperors is an independent dimension, containing Tao elements from other immortal realms. I don't know if this is true or false. I hope that Senior can guide me. Qin Wentian clasped his hands. This middle-aged man was able to cause him to fall into a trance with a single glance. He was definitely an Empyrean character. The city of ancient emperors has a total of 3 dimensions. The third dimension is also known as the overlapping dimension. In order to restrict immortal emperors from seizing the good fortune of immortal kings, there are overlapping dimensions. The 3 dimensions you are in are overlapping with each other. However, both of you are restricted by the laws of the city of ancient emperors. You don't know the existence of the other, but you can share everything in the third dimension. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed when he heard this. There was actually such a thing? As for the Tao elements from other immortal realms you spoke of, it's true. However, they don't exist in every era. Only when the laws of the heavens and earth change and an extraordinary era descends would the Tao elements from other immortal realms appear. Also, in such an era, the price of seizing the Tao elements is extremely high. The middle-aged man continued. "What price?" Qin Wentian asked. "When a Tao element appears, there would definitely be many experts competing for it. It's incomparably cruel, and each Tao element would only choose a single person to inherit it. Hence, the other competitors would all die. As long as you accept the Tao element in the city of ancient emperors, you have to walk on this bloody path of slaughter, defeating all your enemies in the world." Qin Wentian's eyes flashed, feeling a little shocked in his heart. In that case, the reason why the Black Dragon said the era had changed, and the rules were changed, forcing him to compete with the other geniuses in the city of ancient emperors, was because of this? "Senior, how do you know so much about this?" Qin Wentian curiously asked. "Who are you and why are you here?" Do you find it very strange? Because I'm the one who lost the competition for the Tao element and was sealed here, forever sealed in the city of ancient emperors. That middle-aged man spoke, his words causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. "Senior, are you a character from the ancient era?" "That's right. Not only for me, there are also many people who didn't die. All of them were sealed here in the city of ancient emperors, but ordinary people wouldn't be able to see them. Your emperor's fate is extremely strong, and you cultivate an ability similar to mine. That's why you can come here and see me." "What ability?" Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. "The power of dreams. This place is a dreamscape created by Senior?" Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. "In that case, when I was trapped in the independent space earlier, was that a dream within a dream? Your reaction isn't bad. Everything you saw was merely a dreamscape, a combination of a dream and a certain type of energy. In reality, everything you saw was fake. When I saw the Emperor's fate on you, I knew that the rules of the city of ancient emperors are changing. Another era has arrived. The middle-aged man sighed. How can Junior help Senior break free? Qin Wendian asked. Help me break free? Ha! The middle-aged man laughed uproariously. We are fated to meet. Earlier when we met, I'll let you know the cruel truth of the city of ancient emperors. You're on your own now. As the sound of his voice faded, the illusory space gradually dissipated. Qin Wendian still stood before the mountain, staring at the illusory scene before him. Everything seemed to be fake, and that middle-aged man didn't even exist here. Qin Wendian sat down cross-legged, directly cultivating here. The space stacked up and the dream felt real. Qin Wendian had an epiphany in his heart. The power of the dreamscape shouldn't be limited to creating the dream devil sword art. There should be even more miraculous uses to it. Every time he cultivated, every time he leveled up, Qin Wendian's comprehension of law energy would deepen, and his cultivation base would grow stronger as well. After cultivating for a long time, Qin Wendian left, but he still roamed around the city of ancient emperors. He saw many wondrous sceneries and saw some Empyreans entering the secret realms to cultivate. He also had his own good fortune. Unknowingly, Qin Wendian has already been in the city of ancient emperors for many years. During these years, the city of ancient emperors kept on changing. Many rarely seen phenomena appeared. For example, there were ancient trees that extended down from the sky, exuding a terrifying law energy. There were also ancient mountains that bloomed with flowers. There were plants that transformed into the Tao, exuding all sorts of powerful law energy. There were also plants that swayed in the wind, exuding a heaven-shaking sword might that would slay anyone who got close to them. These strange phenomena were somewhat similar to the demon god mountain back then. Many people said that the appearance of these phenomena was a sign that a great opportunity was about to descend. Something major was about to happen in the city of ancient emperors. Finally, this day has arrived. In the airspace above the city of ancient emperors, a resplendent light illuminated the area. At this instant, the ancient trees grew even more luxuriant. Their branches and leaves clasped their hands towards the sky, as though they were worshipping a saint. Numerous flowers of life broke through the gigantic rocks in the mountain range, growing madly, as though they were in a rush to bathe in some kind of light. The plants and spiritual qi in the air were also growing rapidly, welcoming this great change. At this instant, the countless Empyreans in the city of ancient emperors all inclined their heads and stared at the sky. Over there, boundless runic light cascaded downwards, transforming into ancient characters as the melody of the great Tao resounded through the air. This phenomenon caused everyone to be stunned. Tao element inheritance. This is the legendary Tao element inheritance. There's actually a Tao element from the outer heavens descending into the city of ancient emperors. Someone exclaimed in shock. As expected, there was karma behind the changes in the world. Chapter 1480. The city of ancient emperors was in an uproar. The Wu Xiao in the city of ancient emperors were all shocked, feeling that a great fortune had descended upon them. As expected, the era had changed. The rules of the city of ancient emperors had changed as well. Such a thing was something they had never seen before or heard of before. They had only heard of some legends regarding the Tao elements in the immortal realms. But who would have thought that they would personally witness it today? In a desolate area in the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wendian inclined his head and stared at the sky. Around him, the wild grass grew sharper, radiating the might of law energy as they soared up into the sky, exuding sharpness and sharpness. In the distance, there was a mountain range. Flowers burst through boulders, growing out from within. However, it was as if he didn't see it at all. There was only the endless brilliance that kept falling from the void, like a heavenly scroll, descending from the heavens, passing down the inheritance. Was this the Tao orthodoxy inheritance that the senior in the dream had mentioned? If one wanted to obtain the inheritance of a Tao element, They had to defeat all the other competitors before they could live freely. If not, they would be bound by the Tao element and be killed or imprisoned in the city of ancient emperors forever. He soared into the air and stared into the distance. The closer he got to the central region of the city of ancient emperors, the more resplendent the light was. It was like that was the true source of power from the Tao element. With a step, his silhouette flickered as he sped towards that direction. Not only for Qin Wenin, at this moment, all the experts in the city of ancient emperors were doing their best to fly towards the central region. At the same time, they kept staring at the light cascading down, as though they were afraid they would miss out on something. In the air, numerous magnificent figures soared up into the sky. They wanted to see through the Tao element, but many people only felt that it was extremely mysterious and unfathomable. This Tao element is too mysterious, I can't see through it at all. What comprehension abilities do we need? Yeah, the Tao element has appeared in the city of ancient emperors, causing a phenomenon. This is simply too shocking. This Tao element gives me the feeling that the myriad of things are growing, as well as the power of the great Tao of the Buddhist path. This feeling is extremely mysterious, but I can't comprehend it at all. Seems like it's too early to be excited. If we can't see through it, even if the Tao element appears, it would have nothing to do with us. After all, would it belong to those supreme characters? Many people couldn't help but sigh when they realized that they couldn't comprehend it after the excitement. Look over there. An immortal king pointed to the air, only to see several experts sitting cross-legged in different locations in the air. Their expressions were solemn and solemn, exuding an inviolable holiness. They basked in the light of their Tao elements and were quietly comprehending. There were also extraordinary figures. Divine radiance shone resplendently, brimming with health and vigor, seeing through everything. When they looked at those inheritances' power, their bodies shone with natural law radiance, as if they were going to shine together. This is a Buddhist orthodoxy. There was someone who put his palms together, solemn and respectful like an ancient Buddha, as if he wanted to see through those ancient characters. It seems like the emperor's fate is able to help people see through this orthodoxy's inheritance more clearly. Emperor's fate was fate. If one didn't have enough emperor's fate, their fate wouldn't be strong enough. Even if a Tao element appeared, they wouldn't have a chance. How cruel was this? Only those who stood at the very peak would have such good fortune. However, there were also some extraordinary stellar martial cultivators who released their Buddhapath astral souls and circulated their Buddhapath secret arts to resonate with the emperor's fate, causing the connection to be even stronger, and they could see through some of the Tao elements. They immediately stood there solemnly and calmed their hearts, trying to comprehend more. At a certain location, Bujie appeared in the air. His palms were pressed together as he circulated a Buddhist innate technique. His eyes turned golden as ancient Buddhist characters floated around him. He stared at the runic light that cascaded down unceasingly, resembling scrolls of scriptures, boundless and boundless. The melody of the great Tao drifted into his ears. It's really a Buddhist orthodoxy. Bujie could already be sure that if it wasn't a Buddhist orthodoxy, given his emperor's fate, he most probably wouldn't be able to comprehend the secrets of this Tao element. A Buddhist orthodoxy? What a pity, it's useless to my desolate mountain range. Only to see that in a certain location in the air, a group of experts stood there, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. The person in the lead exuded disdain, exuding the aura of an emperor. He was like an emperor among demons, unexcelled in the world. Indeed, a Buddhist orthodoxy. Even if we demon cultivators can see through it, we have no way to cultivate it. It's just too convenient for us bald donkeys. Another greater demon spoke. He sat in the golden sun chariot, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. The experts around him were as common as the clouds, all of them exuding extraordinary auras. The expert on the golden sun chariot was none other than the one who descended from the sky and killed a prince of the Taihua immortal dynasty with a single strike. He was one of the peak characters in this world. Not only for him, many peak characters of the demon race and human race also appeared in the air. Even for those who didn't come, they were rushing over from afar. When the Tao element appeared, all of them stopped their cultivation and wanted to see what was going on. Among them, in a certain direction, a group of beauties could be seen standing there, exuding boundless charm. Just a single gaze from them could cause people to fall into their charms. Even immortal kings wouldn't dare to casually glance over there. As long as they did so, they would be unable to extricate themselves. These women were simply too beautiful. This was especially so for the woman in the lead. She was clad in a white robe that was spotless, pure and flawless, incomparably clean. Her skin was as white as her robe, and her figure was lithe and graceful. Her curves were exquisite, and there was no flaw in her at all. Her face was as beautiful as a statue, yet also exuded the ethereal aura of a celestial fairy. In the center of the woman's brows, there was a faint imprint of a plum blossom, adding some embellishments to her peerless beauty. She stood there, pure and holy, yet she exuded a faint seductive aura. Such a pure and holy demonic beast had completely overturned everyone's imagination. Su Qingyao was also here. She was a rare beauty, but when the immortal kings beside her glanced at her, they actually discovered to their shock that regardless of appearance or demeanor, this woman was actually a notch higher compared to Su Qingyao. It was like this woman shouldn't even exist in this world. Vixen. Su Qingyao silently cursed in her heart. It was extremely rare for her to see a woman whose appearance and demeanor were more outstanding than her. But before this woman, she couldn't help but to admit that she felt some jealousy in her heart. In addition, this group of women were all vixens, and they were even nine-tailed demon foxes. However, that woman was incomparably transcendent. Although she exuded a seductive charm, she seemed to be otherworldly. She basically didn't even glance at Su Qingyao and was only staring at the light cascading down. It was clear that Su Qingyao treated this woman as an imaginary enemy. Other than this, in several locations extremely far away, there were a few humans as well as Wu Xiu, exuding magnificence. It was unknown how dazzling they were. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he flew over. His gaze stared at this area, and as expected, the runic light cascading down from the sky was even clearer here, as though it was complete. The Emperor's fate behind him grew stronger, and he could tell that this Tao element was the power of the Buddhist path. Each and every runic light contained a mysterious might, causing people to comprehend it. The runic light cascading down was like a heavenly book of the great Tao, immeasurably deep. Qin Wendian saw Bujia. This fellow cultivated the power of the Buddhist path and could sense the Tao element's true intent. It was just that his emperor's fate wasn't enough, and most probably, he wouldn't be able to see through the true intent of the Tao element. The saber-sword immortal king has appeared. It's indeed the saber-sword immortal king. This fellow would vanish for many years after each glorious battle. Now that the Tao element has appeared, he finally couldn't endure it any longer and revealed himself. His enemies would definitely not spare him. Su Qingyao also saw Qin Wendian as a strange light flashed in her eyes. This audacious fellow has appeared again. Also, the Emperor's fate behind him has already reached such a level. This was simply too shocking, already able to contend against those peak-stage immortal kings. Although Qin Wentian's fame couldn't be compared to those immortal kings, the things he did were simply too glorious. His name circulated through the entire city of ancient emperors, and this was why his emperor's fate was so abundant. Some greater demons noticed the emperor's fate around Qin Wendian as a strange light involuntarily flashed in their eyes. In a certain direction, a greater demon coldly spoke. "Who is this human Wu Xiu? He actually has such shocking emperor's fate." "For you?" A greater demon from the desolate mountains immediately asked Qin Wendian. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he stared at the greater demon who spoke. He then coldly replied, "This seat is the Saber-Sword Immortal King." "Saber-Sword Immortal King, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. No wonder you were so arrogant and despotic back then in the Gazing Emperor City." A greater demon spoke. So it turned out that it was the greater demon who sat in the floating palace in the Gazing Emperor City. He had paid his respects to the Saber-Sword Immortal King before. Do you still remember when you killed a greater demon of my race in the Gazing Emperor Palace? To think that you would actually be so famous in the city of ancient emperors now. A demonic dragon in the form of a demonic dragon coldly spoke, staring at Qin Wenyin. If you want revenge, feel free to make a move. Qin Wenyan's expression was emotionless as he stared at the greater demons. What an arrogant attitude. A supreme demon with shocking emperor's fate had a look of disdain in his eyes. However, since you are so famous in the city of ancient emperors, I'm sure ordinary peak stage demon kings wouldn't be able to defeat you. No wonder you are so arrogant. But right now, you better restrain yourself a little. I'll go and kill him. A greater demon coldly spoke. No need. That human Wu Xiu will deal with him. There's no need for us to act. An expert spoke. And as expected at this moment, a group of figures flew over. The person in the lead exuded an incomparably resplendent aura. He was clad in yellow robes and exuded an unexcelled aura. Within this group of people, Qin Wenyin actually saw a familiar figure. It was Huang Shatian, who was at the Immortal King realm. Clearly, this group of people were experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. The person in the lead exuded a majestic aura, exuding a fearsome might. He wore a crown on his head and was evidently a prince of the 9 Emperors' immortal state. His status was transcendent and he was also extremely powerful. He was the leader of this group of people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. Qin Wenyan recognized Huang Shatian. However, Huang Shatian didn't know that the saber-sword immortal king was Qin Wenyan. Hence, his expression didn't change too much. This person before him had killed many experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.